Elara Vance stands at the altar in an ivory wedding gown, trembling hands gripping her phone as it vibrates with a single message. A photo appears. Her fiancé, Adrian Cole, tangled in bed with her best friend, Lila Brooks. Below it, "I can't do this. I'm sorry." The church erupts in whispers. Then footsteps echo from the back. A stranger in a black suit approaches, silver hair, dragon tattoo coiling up his neck. Cale Ardent stops before her, his voice cutting through the chaos. "If the groom doesn't want you, then you're mine," and everything shatters. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit like and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this goes. Elara's breath catches in her throat, the phone slipping from her fingers and clattering against the marble floor. The sound echoes through the silence that has fallen over the crowded space, 300 pairs of eyes turning toward her like predators sensing blood in the water. She can feel their stares crawling across her skin, peeling back layers of composure she's spent weeks building for this exact moment. The moment that was supposed to be perfect. The moment that's now disintegrating in real time. Her mother's voice cuts through from the front row, sharp and anxious. "Elara, sweetheart, what's wrong?" But Elara can't answer. Her vocal cords have frozen, locked somewhere between her chest and her throat, where humiliation sits like a stone. The image is still burned into her retinas. Adrian's face, relaxed and satisfied in a way he never looked with her anymore. Lila's red-painted nails dragging across his bare chest, both of them wrapped in sheets Elara recognizes from the apartment she and Adrian were supposed to move into next week. Next week, when they were supposed to start their new life together. The white roses in her bouquet suddenly feel obscene in her grip, their petals too pure, too innocent for what's happening. She drops them. They hit the floor and scatter, stems breaking, water spreading across the stone in a mockery of the tears she refuses to let fall. Not here. Not in front of everyone. The whispers grow louder, transforming from concern into speculation, then into something uglier. She can hear fragments. Did he really? With her best friend? I always thought, poor thing. And each word is a knife sliding between her ribs. Her cousin Jenna stands up from her seat, phone already in hand, probably texting someone, spreading the news before Elara can even process it herself. Uncle Robert shifts uncomfortably, looking anywhere but at her. Adrian's groomsmen exchange glances near the side entrance, and she realizes with a sick twist in her stomach that they probably knew. Maybe everyone knew except her. The officiant, an elderly man with kind eyes that now swim with pity, reaches toward her. "Miss Vance, perhaps we should—" That's when she hears them. Footsteps. Not hurried. Not apologetic. Controlled and deliberate, each strike of expensive leather against marble floor cutting through the chaos like a blade through silk. Elara forces herself to look up. The man walking down the aisle doesn't belong here. Everything about him screams wrong. Wrong venue, wrong moment, wrong universe. He moves with the kind of confidence that comes from never having to justify his presence anywhere. His black suit tailored so precisely, it might as well be armor. Silver hair falls across his forehead, contrasting sharply with skin that's seen too much sun or too much violence or both. And the tattoo, a dragon rendered in obsidian ink, its tail disappearing beneath his collar, its head emerging along his jawline with eyes that seem to track movement. The crowd parts without anyone consciously deciding to move. They simply create space for him, the same way water moves around stone. Cale Ardent. Elara doesn't know his name yet, but she recognizes the type. She's seen men like him before in the periphery of her father's business dealings. Men who operate in the spaces between what's legal and what's necessary. Men who smile at dinner parties while orchestrating things that never make it into polite conversation. He stops at the altar, close enough that she can smell cedar, and something darker. Something that reminds her of rain before a storm. His eyes lock onto hers, and they're the pale gray of winter ice, sharp enough to cut. "If the groom doesn't want you," he says, voice low and absolutely certain, "then you're mine." The church goes completely still. Even the whispers die. Elara stares at him, her brain struggling to process words that make no sense strung together in that order. "What? You heard me." He doesn't blink, doesn't smile, doesn't do anything to soften the absolute insanity of what he just said. "Marry me instead." A laugh bubbles up in her throat, hysterical and sharp. I don't even know you. You didn't know Adrian either. Not really. Kyle tilts his head slightly, studying her the way a surgeon might study an incision site. He's been sleeping with Lila Brooks for 7 months, started 3 weeks after he proposed to you. They've been planning this, the public humiliation, the timing, all of it. The words land like physical blows. 7 months. Not a mistake, not a moment of weakness. A deliberate, sustained betrayal while she'd been tasting wedding cakes and selecting centerpieces and believing in a future that never existed. How do you... She starts, but he's already moving. Cale bends down, picks up her phone from where it fell, and crushes it in his fist. The screen spiders into a web of cracks, plastic casing splintering with a sound that makes several people gasp. He drops the pieces at his feet like discarded garbage. Then he turns to the officiant. Continue. The old man's eyes go wide. This isn't... Young man, you can't just... I can. Cale's voice doesn't rise, but something in it makes the officiant take a step back. And I am. Continue the ceremony. This is insane, Alara hears herself say, though her voice sounds distant, like it's coming from someone else's body. You can't be serious. Cale leans closer, close enough that his breath ghosts across her ear when he speaks, low enough that only she can hear. You have 2 choices right now. Walk out of here as the woman who got left at the altar, who everyone will pity and whisper about for the rest of your life. Or walk out of here married to me and make them all wonder what the hell just happened. That's not a choice, she whispers back, hating how her voice shakes. That's blackmail. That's reality. He pulls back just enough to meet her eyes again. Humiliation or power? Pick one. Her mother is on her feet now, trying to push past guests to reach the front. Alara, don't you dare. We need to talk about this. But Alara isn't listening to her mother. She's looking at Kyle Ardent, at this stranger who somehow knows intimate details about her life, who walked into the worst moment she's ever experienced and offered her something that isn't rescue, but might be survival. She thinks about Adrian's face in that photo, about Lila's smug smile, about 7 months of lies told while she planned a wedding that was apparently a joke to everyone but her. She thinks about walking out of here alone, going home to an empty apartment, facing tomorrow and the next day and the day after that with nothing but sympathy and secondhand embarrassment. And she thinks about the alternative. Fine, she says, the word tasting like ash and fury. Let's do it. A ripple of shock moves through the crowd like wind through wheat. Kyle's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in those winter gray eyes. Satisfaction, maybe? Or recognition of something he expected all along. He turns to the officiant. You heard her. Continue. The old man looks between them, then out at the crowd as if hoping someone will intervene. No one does. They're all too stunned, too fascinated by the train wreck unfolding in real time. This is highly irregular, the officiant stammers. The marriage license, it has Adrian Cole's name, can be amended. Cale produces a phone from his jacket pocket, sleek, expensive, probably worth more than Alara's car, and makes a call. Victor, I need a marriage license updated. Yes, now. Alara Vance and Cale Ardent. The venue hasn't changed. A pause. 20 minutes is too long. Make it 10. He ends the call and pockets the phone, then looks at the officiant with an expression that suggests further objection would be unwise. The old man swallows hard. Well, I suppose we could wait for the updated paperwork. Though I really must stress it later, Kyle says. Alara's cousin Jenna has her phone out now, recording, because of course she does. Half the guests are doing the same thing. This will be all over social media within the hour. Alara Vance's wedding disaster, now with added insanity. She should stop this, should walk away, call the whole thing off, maintain whatever dignity she has left. But Adrian's message is still burned into her mind. I can't do this. I'm sorry. Not even the courage to tell her in person. Not even that much respect. Fuck him. Fuck all of this. Alara. Her mother reaches the front, grabbing her arm. You can't seriously be considering. We need to talk privately. Alara pulls her arm free, harder than necessary. No, we don't. Don't be ridiculous. You're in shock. This man is a complete stranger. So was Adrian, apparently. The bitterness in her voice surprises even her. For 7 months, while I was planning this wedding, he was someone I didn't know at all. Her mother's face crumples. Sweetheart, don't. Alara steps back, putting distance between them. Just don't. She turns to Kyle, this stranger who's somehow become her escape route. How long until the paperwork arrives? He checks his watch. Platinum, understated, probably costs more than her student loans. 7 minutes. 7 minutes until she makes possibly the worst decision of her life. Or possibly the best. She genuinely can't tell which. The crowd is dissolved into chaos now. People on phones, people arguing in urgent whispers, people simply staring with the kind of fascination usually reserved for natural disasters. Adrian's parents are nowhere to be seen. They probably left the moment the scandal broke, unwilling to be associated with their son's mess. Alara's bridesmaids cluster near the side door looking lost. Lila was supposed to be standing with them, maid of honor in a dusty rose dress they'd picked out together 4 months ago. But Lila is somewhere else right now, somewhere with Adrian, probably laughing about how perfectly their plan worked. The thought sends a fresh wave of rage through Alara's chest, hot and clarifying. Kyle has moved slightly away, giving her space but not leaving, his presence a dark anchor in the swirling chaos. He's on his phone again, speaking in low tones to someone she can't see, and she realizes he's positioning pieces on a board she can't fully perceive yet. This was planned. He didn't just happen to be here, didn't just happen to know about Adrian and Lila. This was calculated, timed, executed with precision. Why, she asks when he finishes the call. He looks at her, one eyebrow slightly raised. Why what? Why are you doing this? Why do you care if I marry you or walk out of here humiliated? I don't care, he says simply. But you should. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. His phone buzzes. He glances at it, then nods once. Paperwork's here. We can proceed. A man in a gray suit appears from the back of the venue, moving quickly through the crowd with a folder in his hands. He reaches the altar and hands it to the officiant, who opens it with shaking fingers and examines the contents. This is, well, it appears to be in order, the old man says reluctantly, though I really must protest the irregularity of... Noted, Kyle says. Proceed. The officiant looks at Alara one more time, a final silent question in his eyes. Are you sure? She's not sure of anything, but she nods anyway. Very well. The old man clears his throat, adjusting his glasses. We are gathered here today. Skip the preamble, Kyle interrupts. Get to the vows. Another ripple of shock through the crowd. You don't skip the preamble. That's not how this works. But the officiant, apparently deciding he's too old to argue with whatever force of nature Kyle Ardent represents, simply nods and flips forward several pages. Do you, Kyle Ardent, take Alara Vance to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. No hesitation, no emotion, just certainty. The officiant turns to Alara, and his expression is almost apologetic. And do you, Alara Vance, take Kyle Ardent to be your lawfully wedded husband? This is it. The point of no return. The moment where she either commits to this insanity or walks away and faces everything she's been running from for the past 15 minutes. She thinks about Adrian's smile in that photo, about Lila's hands on him, about 7 months of lies. She looks at Kyle, this stranger with ice chip eyes and a dragon crawling up his neck, this man who walked in and took control of her disaster like he'd been waiting for exactly this moment. I do, she says, and her voice doesn't shake. By the power vested in me, the officiant says quickly, like he's trying to get through this before reality catches up. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may... Kyle doesn't wait for permission. He steps forward, one hand sliding to the back of Alara's neck, fingers tangling in her carefully arranged hair, and kisses her. It's not gentle, not romantic. It's claiming, possessive, a seal carved into flesh, and witnessed by 300 people who will never forget this moment. Alara's first instinct is to pull away, but something stops her. Maybe pride, maybe fury, maybe the way his kiss tastes like cedar and winter, and promises she doesn't understand yet. When he pulls back, his eyes are still that same cold gray. But there's something else in them now. Satisfaction. Victory. You're mine now, he says, quiet enough that only she can hear. She should argue, should protest, Should do anything but stand there, feeling her entire life rearrange itself around this moment. But she doesn't. The crowd erupts. Some people clapping uncertainly, others shouting questions, still others simply frozen in shock. Someone's crying. Might be her mother. Kale's hand finds Alara's, his grip firm and absolutely certain, and he starts walking. Not the traditional recession down the aisle. Just walking, pulling her with him, moving toward the exit with purpose that doesn't allow for hesitation. Wait, she starts. But he doesn't wait. They're moving through the crowd now, people pressing back to let them pass. And Alara catches fragments of conversation. Who is he? This can't be legal. Did you see? Completely insane? Outside, the late afternoon sun hits her face like a slap. A black car is waiting at the curb, sleek and expensive, and entirely too prepared for this moment. The driver, tall, muscular, wearing dark glasses despite the fading light, opens the back door without a word. Kale guides her inside with a hand at her lower back, firm enough to prevent hesitation. She slides across leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent. And he follows, the door closing behind them with a solid, final sound. The car pulls away from the curb before she can think about changing her mind. Alara watches through the tinted windows as the venue disappears behind them, guests spilling out onto the sidewalk, phones raised, recording everything. What the hell just happened? She asks, her voice finally breaking. Kale leans back in his seat, completely relaxed, like he didn't just walk into a stranger's wedding and marry the bride himself. You made a choice. Now you live with it. That's not an explanation. No, he agrees. It's not. She turns to look at him fully for the first time since entering the car. In the confined space, he seems larger, more dangerous. The dragon tattoo writhes across his neck when he moves, and she realizes it's not just decorative. It's a warning. Adrian and Lila, she says. You said they planned this. How do you know? I know a lot of things. Kale pulls out his phone, taps something, and passes it to her, including this. The screen shows a message thread, Adrian's name at the top, messages exchanged with someone labeled only as L. The timestamps go back months. The content is explicit, cruel, strategic. She's so fucking gullible. Doesn't suspect a thing. We should time it right. Make it hurt. The wedding would be perfect. Public humiliation. She deserves it after what her father did. Alara's stomach turns to ice. What my father did? Your father's company acquired Adrian's father's business 3 years ago. Hostile takeover. Left the Cole family financially ruined. Kale takes the phone back. Adrian's been planning this revenge ever since. The engagement was never real. It was always about hurting you to hurt your father. The words don't fully process at first. They're too big, too deliberate. This wasn't passion or weakness or a mistake. This was calculated destruction. Why are you telling me this? Her voice comes out rough. Why do you care? Kale's eyes meet hers, and for the first time she sees something that might be actual emotion beneath the ice. Not sympathy, something sharper. Because I don't waste resources, he says, and you're about to become very useful. Useful? The word tastes bitter. So this is a transaction. Everything is a transaction. He shifts slightly, angling toward her. You needed an exit. I needed a wife. Circumstances aligned. Why do you need a wife? That's a longer conversation. The car turns onto a highway, buildings giving way to hills, civilization thinning. One will have once you've had time to process. Process. A laugh escapes her, sharp and humorless. I just married a complete stranger. I'm not sure processing is an option. You married someone who can give you what Adrian never could. Kale's voice is matter-of-fact, clinical. Power, resources, the ability to ensure he regrets every choice he made. The word revenge hangs unspoken between them. Alara should be horrified, should be demanding he turn the car around, take her home, undo this catastrophic mistake. But instead she asks, what kind of power? Something shifts in Kale's expression. Not quite a smile, more like recognition of a door opening. The kind that makes men like Adrian irrelevant, he says. The kind that turns humiliation into leverage. The kind most people never even know exists. The car climbs higher into the hills, the city shrinking behind them, and Alara realizes she's leaving more than just the wedding venue behind. She's leaving the life she thought she understood, the future she'd carefully constructed, The version of herself who believed in promises and white weddings and happily ever after. Where are we going? She asks. Home. Kale glances out the window at the darkening sky. My home. Yours now too. Yours now too. The possessive phrasing should bother her more than it does. The car pulls through gates that open automatically, up a private drive lined with trees that block any view from the road. When the penthouse comes into view, glass and steel jutting out from the hillside like a knife blade, Ilara's breath catches. This isn't wealth. This is something beyond wealth. This is power made architectural. The car stops. The driver opens her door. Kael is already out, waiting, one hand extended. She takes it. Her wedding dress catches on the car door, and she has to yank it free, the delicate fabric tearing with a sound that feels symbolic. She doesn't care. The dress is ruined anyway. Everything is ruined. Or maybe nothing is ruined. Maybe everything is just beginning. Kael leads her inside, through rooms that are all sharp angles and controlled lighting, everything precisely arranged, nothing accidental. It's beautiful in a cold way, like looking at ice sculptures. Your room is upstairs, he says, pausing at the base of a floating staircase. Second door on the left. You'll find clothes, toiletries, everything you need for tonight. We'll discuss arrangements tomorrow. Arrangements, she repeats. How this works, what's expected, the terms. He meets her eyes. This is a marriage, Ilara, but not the kind you were planning. You need to understand what you've agreed to. I haven't agreed to anything except saying I do under duress. You said it. That's enough. He starts to turn away, then pauses. One more thing. Don't try to leave. The gates are locked, the security system is active, and there's nowhere you can go that I won't find you. Not a threat, just reality. He walks away before she can respond, disappearing into some other part of this massive, cold palace. Ilara stands alone in the entryway, still wearing her torn wedding dress, holding the shoes she kicked off in the car, trying to reconcile the last 3 hours with anything resembling sanity. She's married to Kyle Ardent. She doesn't know what that means yet. But standing here in this glass fortress, watching the city lights flicker far below like dying stars, she realizes something that terrifies and exhilarates her in equal measure. She doesn't want to go back. Whatever this is, transaction, trap, opportunity, it's hers now. And for the first time in 7 months, maybe longer, she feels something other than numb acceptance. She feels awake. Ilara climbs the stairs, finds the room Kael indicated, and closes the door behind her. Inside, everything is ready. Clothes in her size hanging in the closet, toiletries arranged in the bathroom, even her preferred brand of face wash. He knew she would say yes. He prepared for this. The realization should disturb her. Instead, it clarifies something. Kael Ardent doesn't make mistakes, doesn't leave things to chance. And if he went through this much effort to make her his wife, then there's a reason. Something she hasn't seen yet. Something that goes deeper than convenience or revenge. She needs to find out what. Ilara strips off the wedding dress, lets it pool on the floor like a shed skin, and steps into the shower. The water is scalding, perfect, washing away makeup and hairspray and the last traces of who she was this morning. When she emerges, wrapped in a towel, her phone, her real phone, the one Kael didn't crush, is sitting on the bathroom counter. She picks it up with shaking hands. 47 missed calls, 83 text messages, voicemails from her mother, her father, her friends, numbers she doesn't recognize. She scrolls through the texts. Most are variations of the same thing. What the hell? Are you okay? Call me immediately. But one stands out, from Adrian. I hope you're happy with your choice. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Ilara stares at the message, and something cold settles in her chest. Not fear, certainty. She types back, watch me, and hits send. Ilara wakes to silence. Not the comfortable kind. The oppressive kind, where absence of sound feels like a living thing pressing against her eardrums. She opens her eyes to unfamiliar ceiling, unfamiliar light filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows she doesn't remember closing last night. Then it hits her. She's in Kael Ardent's penthouse. She married him. This is real. Her phone sits on the nightstand, screen dark. She reaches for it with fingers that still feel disconnected from her body, muscle memory operating while her brain catches up to the catastrophe she's living inside. The screen illuminates. 6:47 a.m. More messages have accumulated overnight like sediment. Her mother. Please call me. We need to talk about this rationally. Her father. Come home immediately. This is unacceptable. Jenna. Girl, what the fuck? Call me. And Adrian, again. You're being manipulated. Kael Ardent is dangerous. Come back before it's too late. She deletes his message without reading it fully. Then deletes the previous one too. Deletes his entire thread until there's nothing left but empty space where his name used to be. The door opens without warning. Alara jerks upright, pulling the blanket to her chest even though she's fully clothed in the silk pajamas she found laid out last night. A woman stands in the doorway. Late 50s, steel gray hair pulled into a severe bun, wearing a crisp black pantsuit that screams efficiency. Her eyes are sharp, assessing, missing nothing. You're awake, the woman says. Not a question. Good. Mr. Ardent expects you downstairs in 30 minutes. Who are you? Margaret Chen. I manage the household. She steps inside, carrying a garment bag. I've brought appropriate clothing. Breakfast is at 7:30. Don't be late. She hangs the bag on the closet door and leaves before Alara can formulate a response. Alara sits frozen for a moment, processing the casual authority in Margaret's tone. This isn't a request. It's an instruction delivered with the expectation of compliance. She should refuse, should assert some kind of autonomy, should do literally anything except obey. But curiosity wins. She extracts herself from the bed. California King, obscenely comfortable, sheets with a thread count she can't even estimate, and approaches the garment bag. Inside, tailored black pants, a cream silk blouse, understated but clearly expensive. Her size exactly. Of course it is. Alara showers quickly, dresses, examines herself in the bathroom mirror. She looks different. Not physically. Something else. Something in her eyes that wasn't there yesterday. She looks dangerous. The thought should unsettle her. Instead, it feels like recognition. Downstairs, she follows the sound of movement through hallways that seem designed to disorient. Everything is glass and steel and sharp angles, beautiful and cold. She passes rooms she can't identify, spaces that seem more like art installations than living areas. Finally, voices. Low conversation coming from around a corner. She approaches, footsteps silent on polished concrete floors, and emerges into a dining area that's all windows overlooking the city sprawling below like a kingdom waiting to be claimed. Kael sits at the head of a long black table, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. He's wearing dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, exposing forearms marked with scars she didn't notice yesterday. The dragon tattoo is partially visible above his collar, its tail disappearing beneath fabric. He glances up when she enters. No greeting, just acknowledgement. Sit. It's not quite a command, but it's not a request either. Alara moves to the chair at the opposite end of the table. Too far for comfortable conversation. Too close to ignore each other. The space between them feels deliberate. Margaret appears from somewhere, placing a plate in front of Alara. Eggs, toast, fruit arranged with precision. Coffee follows, poured from a silver carafe. I didn't order this, Alara says. You didn't need to. Margaret's expression doesn't change. You need to eat. You will eat. She disappears before Alara can argue. Kael is still on his phone, scrolling through something, occasionally typing with one thumb, ignoring her completely. Alara picks up her fork, puts it down, picks it up again. Are we going to talk about yesterday? No. No? We're going to talk about today. He sets the phone down, finally giving her his full attention. And what happens next? What happens next is I leave. The words come out sharper than she intended. This was a mistake. A reaction. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking perfectly clearly. Kael's voice is calm, clinical. You made a choice under pressure. That doesn't make it less valid. It makes it coerced. Coercion implies I forced you. I offered an alternative. You accepted. Alara's fingers tighten around her fork. You crushed my phone. You manipulated the situation. I eliminated a distraction and provided clarity. He picks up his coffee cup, drinks, sets it down with precision. The situation was already manipulated by Adrian, by Lila. I simply redirected the outcome. To benefit yourself. Obviously. No shame in the admission. but also to benefit you, whether you realize it yet or not. You don't know anything about me. Something flickers across Kael's face, almost amusement. I know your father is Marcus Vance, CEO of Vance Industries. I know you graduated summa cum laude from Northwestern with a degree in business management you've never used because Adrian convinced you his career was more important. I know you've been working part-time at your cousin's boutique for the past 2 years, making barely enough to cover your half of rent on an apartment you were never supposed to stay in this long. I know you take sugar in your coffee, but drink it black when Adrian's around because he thinks it's more sophisticated. I know you wanted to go to graduate school, but postponed it when he proposed. I know. Stop. Ilara's voice cracks. Just stop. Kael stops. Silence settles between them, heavy and uncomfortable. How do you know all that? She asks finally. I make it my business to know things about people who become important to me. I wasn't important to you yesterday. You became important the moment I decided you would be. The casual arrogance of the statement should infuriate her. Instead, it clarifies something. Kael Ardent doesn't operate in the world she knows. He operates in a different sphere entirely, where information is currency and people are assets to be acquired or discarded based on strategic value. Why? She asks. Why did I become important? Eat your breakfast, then I'll show you. That's not an answer. It's the beginning of one. Ilara stares at him across the expanse of black table, this stranger who's somehow her husband now, trying to read something in his expression that makes sense. But Kael's face is unreadable, controlled, giving away nothing except what he chooses to reveal. She eats. The food is perfect. She hates that it's perfect. When she finishes, Kael stands, buttoning his cuffs with practiced efficiency. Come with me. He doesn't wait for agreement, just walks. Ilara follows, because the alternative is sitting alone in a dining room, the size of her former apartment. He leads her through more hallways, down a flight of stairs, to a door that requires both a keycard and a fingerprint scan. The lock disengages with a soft click. Inside is an office, but not like any office Ilara has seen before. 3 walls are covered in screens, each displaying different information. Stock tickers, news feeds in multiple languages, security camera footage from locations she doesn't recognize. The 4th wall is glass, overlooking the city. A desk dominates the center, black glass, minimal, holding only a laptop and a single photograph in a silver frame. Ilara can't see the image from this angle. Kael moves to the desk, taps something on the laptop. The screens change, consolidating information into a single presentation. Your father's company, he says, gesturing to financial charts and documents. Vance Industries, currently valued at $2.3 billion. Publicly traded but majority family-owned. I know what my father's company is worth. Do you know it's about to collapse? The words hit like a physical blow. What? Kael pulls up more documents. Marcus Vance made a series of strategic errors over the past 18 months. Bad acquisitions. Overextended credit lines. Ignored warning signs from his financial team. The company is leveraged beyond sustainability. In approximately 6 months, maybe less, Vance Industries will either be forced into bankruptcy or acquired by someone willing to absorb the debt. Ilara's legs feel unsteady. She reaches for the desk edge, gripping hard. That's not possible. My father would never... Your father is an excellent engineer and a mediocre businessman. No judgment in Kael's voice, just fact. He built an empire on innovation but doesn't understand how to maintain it. The coal acquisition should have been the warning sign. Instead, it was the beginning of the end. The coal acquisition. Her mind races back. Adrian's father, Edward Cole, brilliant financial strategist. He saw Vance Industries' weaknesses before anyone else did. He was positioning to exploit them when Marcus struck first with the hostile takeover. But the acquisition itself was flawed. Marcus paid too much, integrated poorly, hemorrhaged talent. Edward Cole lost his company, but Marcus Vance started bleeding from a wound he didn't know he'd opened. The pieces align in Ilara's head with sickening clarity. Adrian knew. When he proposed to me, he knew my father's company was failing. He suspected. His proposal was insurance. If Vance Industries survived, he'd have access to wealth and connections through marriage. If it failed, He'd have the satisfaction of abandoning you at the moment of maximum humiliation. But he didn't wait for the company to fail. He left me at the altar anyway, because I intervened. Kyle closes the laptop. Edward Cole approached me 3 months ago. He wanted financing to mount a revenge acquisition of Vance Industries when it became vulnerable. I declined, but I kept monitoring the situation. Why? Because failing companies create opportunities, and because I suspected Adrian Cole was not acting alone. He pulls up another screen. Messages between Adrian and someone labeled DV. Alara's stomach drops. Dorian Vale. You know him? He's my father's CFO. He's been with the company for 8 years. She reads the messages, each one a small betrayal. The old man suspects nothing. I have access to the accounts. When Vance falls, we'll be positioned perfectly. Dorian has been sabotaging your father from the inside, Kyle says. Slow, methodical, ensuring the collapse happens on his timeline. Adrian was his connection to you, a way to keep eyes on the family, access to information Marcus wouldn't share with employees. My father trusts Dorian. Alara's voice sounds hollow even to herself. He trusted Adrian. Trust is a vulnerability. Kyle's tone softens slightly, almost gentle. Your father's biggest weakness. He believes in loyalty, in people. It's admirable and fatal. Alara sinks into the chair behind the desk without realizing she's moving. Her mind is fragmenting, trying to process too much information at once. Her father's company failing, Dorian's betrayal, Adrian's calculated cruelty. Why are you telling me this? She asks. What do you want? Kale moves around the desk, leaning against it, close enough that she has to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. I want to acquire Vance Industries before it collapses completely. Not a hostile takeover, a strategic merger. Your father maintains his position and his dignity. The company survives. The employees keep their jobs. And you get what? Control, influence, access to Marcus Vance's political connections and his engineering patents, he pauses. And a wife who has every reason to help me achieve those things. Because you're bribing me with my father's survival. Because I'm offering you a partnership. He crosses his arms, the dragon tattoo flexing across his neck. You help me navigate the family dynamics. Convince your father to accept my terms. Use your position to smooth the transition. In exchange, Vance Industries survives. Your father's legacy remains intact, and you gain access to resources Adrian Cole never could have provided. Resources. The word tastes bitter. You mean money. I mean power. Kale's eyes lock onto hers. The ability to ensure the people who hurt you face consequences. The ability to protect what matters to you. The ability to never be humiliated like that again. Alara wants to argue, wants to reject the entire proposition. But she's thinking about Dorian's messages, about Adrian's calculated revenge, about her father building an empire while blind to the rot inside it. What happens if I refuse? She asks. I acquire the company anyway, but it takes longer, costs more, creates unnecessary casualties. He tilts his head. Your father would resist, fight back, drain his remaining resources in a legal battle he can't win. He'd lose everything. His company, his reputation, his retirement, all of it. So you destroy him. I'd let him destroy himself. I don't need to do anything except wait for the inevitable. The truth of it settles like ice in her chest. Kyle isn't threatening her father. He's just describing reality. With or without her cooperation, Vance Industries is falling. The only question is how hard the landing will be. I need to think about this, she says. You have until tonight. Kale pushes off the desk. I'm meeting with potential investors tomorrow morning. I need to know if you're an asset or an obstacle. Asset or obstacle. She laughs, sharp and humorless. Is that how you see everyone? That's how the world works. He moves toward the door. People either help you or they don't. Everything else is sentiment. And what am I to you? The question escapes before she can stop it. Really, beyond the strategy and the merger and the transaction, what am I? Kyle pauses, hand on the door handle. For a moment, she thinks he might actually answer honestly. You're the solution to a problem I didn't know I had, he says finally. And the problem I'm choosing to keep. Then he leaves. Alara sits alone in the office, surrounded by screens displaying information she can't fully process, Staring at the photograph on the desk, she still can't see clearly. She stands, moves closer, picks up the silver frame. The image shows a younger Kyle, maybe 20, standing beside an older woman with kind eyes and silver hair. They're smiling, not posed, genuine. His mother, probably. She's dead now. Has to be. Or Kyle wouldn't keep this photograph here, alone, in a room designed for strategic calculation. Ilara sets the frame down carefully, precisely where she found it. Her phone buzzes. She pulls it from her pocket. Her father. We need to talk, today. This is not negotiable. She stares at the message, then at the screens showing the slow collapse of everything her father built. If she tells him about Dorian's betrayal, he'll be devastated. If she doesn't, the company falls faster. If she helps Kyle, her father's legacy survives. But she becomes complicit in a takeover disguised as salvation. If she refuses Kyle, she protects her autonomy. But watches her father lose everything. There's no clean choice. There never was. Ilara types back, I'll come by this afternoon. We'll talk. She sends it before she can reconsider. Then she goes looking for Margaret. She finds the woman in a kitchen that looks like it belongs in a restaurant, organizing deliveries with military precision. I need to go out, Ilara says, to see my father. Margaret doesn't look up from her tablet. Mr. Ardent will need to approve that. I'm not asking for approval. Now Margaret looks up, one eyebrow raised. Mrs. Ardent, don't call me that. You're not a prisoner here, but security protocols exist for your protection. Mr. Ardent has enemies. You are now associated with him. That makes you a target. The casual delivery of this information makes it somehow worse. A target for what? Leverage, kidnapping, intimidation. Margaret returns to her tablet. The world Mr. Ardent operates in does not have the luxury of innocence. If you leave this property without proper security, you create vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities have consequences. Ilara's fingers curl into fists. So I'm trapped here. You're protected here. There's a difference. Is there? Margaret sets down the tablet, giving Ilara her full attention. Mr. Ardent could have married anyone, could have chosen from dozens of women who would have said yes for the money alone. He chose you. In the middle of a crisis, publicly, deliberately, that means something. It means I'm useful to him. It means you're valuable. Margaret's expression softens slightly. There is a difference, Mrs. Ardent, whether you see it yet or not. Ilara wants to argue, but she's exhausted from arguing, from processing, from trying to reconcile who she was yesterday with who she's becoming. I still need to see my father, she says. Margaret nods. I'll arrange security. The car will be ready in an hour. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Margaret picks up her tablet again. This conversation is going to be harder than you think. She's right. The drive to her father's house takes 40 minutes through city traffic. Ilara sits in the back of the black car, different vehicle, same driver with the dark glasses, watching the world scroll past like footage from someone else's life. Her phone won't stop buzzing. Messages from friends, acquaintances, people she hasn't spoken to in years, all wanting details about the wedding disaster, about Kyle, about what the hell she was thinking. She ignores all of them. The car pulls through familiar gates, up a familiar driveway, to a house she grew up in. Colonial style, perfectly maintained, testament to old money and older values. Her father is waiting on the front steps. Marcus Vance looks smaller than she remembers. Or maybe she's just seeing him differently now. Gray hair, expensive suit, shoulders that carry weight he doesn't acknowledge. The car stops. The driver opens her door. Ilara steps out into afternoon sunlight that feels too bright, too normal for everything that's broken. Her father doesn't move to embrace her, just stands there, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Ilara. Dad. Inside. Not a greeting, a command. She follows him through the front door, through the foyer where her high school graduation photos still hang on the walls, into his study that smells like leather and old books and disappointment. He closes the door, locks it. Then he turns to her and his face finally shows emotion. Fury, barely controlled. What the hell were you thinking? I was thinking Adrian left me at the altar and I needed a way out. So you married a criminal? The word hits like a slap. What? Kyle Ardent. Her father moves to his desk, pulls up something on his computer, turns the screen toward her. The man you married yesterday without thinking, without asking, without any goddamn sense. Do you know who he is? Alara looks at the screen. Articles. Police reports. Investigations. Ardent Holdings suspected of money laundering. Federal probe into Ardent shipping operations finds no evidence. Cale Ardent questioned in connection with... The headlines blur together. None of those charges stuck, she says. No convictions. Because he's too smart to get caught. Her father's voice rises. Alara, this man operates in the gray spaces of legality. He owns legitimate businesses that front for activities we can't prove, but everyone knows exist. He has connections to people you don't want to be connected to, and now you're married to him. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Her father cuts her off. You were hurt, humiliated. You made an impulsive decision. Now you need to fix it. Fix it how? Annulment. We can claim coercion, duress, lack of informed consent. I've already spoken to the family attorney. We can have this undone within a week. Alara stares at him, this man who taught her to stand up for herself, to think strategically, to never let emotion override logic. And she realizes he doesn't know his company is failing, doesn't know Dorian is betraying him, doesn't know how close he is to losing everything. She could tell him, right now, could hand him the information Kyle gave her and watch his world fracture the way hers did yesterday. Or she could protect him, let him believe the lie a little longer, buy time to figure out the right play. Dad, she says carefully, I need you to trust me. Trust you? He laughs, sharp and bitter. You just married a stranger. You're asking me to trust your judgment? I'm asking you to believe I had reasons. What reasons could possibly justify? He knows about the company. Her father stops mid-sentence. What? Kyle knows about Vance Industries, about the financial problems. She watches his face carefully. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Something shifts in her father's expression, shock giving way to calculation. How much do you know? Enough. Alara says, how bad is it? Her father sinks into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 63 years. It's manageable. We're working through some temporary cash flow issues, but, Dad, she moves closer, gripping the edge of his desk. How bad? The silence stretches. 6 months, he says finally. Maybe less. If we can't secure significant capital investment. And can you? I'm working on it. Dorian's helping you? Her father's eyes narrow. Why would you ask about Dorian? This is the moment. The choice point. Tell him the truth. Destroy his trust in someone he's relied on for 8 years. Watch him spiral into paranoia and anger. Or stay silent. Use the information strategically. Maintain control. Alara makes her choice. Just wondering, she says. He's been with you a long time. Her father relaxes slightly. He has. He's one of the few people I can count on. The lie tastes like ash in her mouth, but she swallows it. Kyle can help, she says instead. Absolutely not. He has resources, connections. He could invest. I will not take money from that man. Her father stands, moving to the window, looking out at the manicured grounds. I will not be indebted to someone like him. Someone like him is exactly what you need right now. What I need is my daughter back. He turns to face her. The real Alara. Not whoever this is. The words cut deeper than she expects. I am the real Alara, maybe for the first time. You've known him for 24 hours. I knew Adrian for 3 years. Look how that worked out. Her father flinches. Alara presses the advantage. Kyle is offering a legitimate investment, a merger, not a takeover. You maintain control. The company survives. And what does he get? Influence, a seat at the table, partnership. And you're his ambassador for this? Her father's voice is cold now. Is that what you are to him? A negotiator? I'm his wife. You're a transaction. The words hang in the air between them, ugly and true and impossible to take back. Alara's chest tightens. I should go. Alara, wait! But she's already moving toward the door, unlocking it, pulling it open. Get the annulment, her father says behind her. Please, before this gets worse. She doesn't answer, doesn't look back, just walks out of the study, through the house, past the photos of her younger self smiling at a camera before she knew how complicated everything would become. The driver is waiting. The car is running. She slides into the back seat and the door closes with a sound like a coffin sealing. Her phone rings. Kale. She answers. What? How did it go? His voice is calm, unsurprised, like he already knows the answer. How do you think it went? He refused, called me a criminal, told you to get an annulment. Alara's breath catches. How did you? I told you, I know things. A pause. Are you coming back? The question carries weight beyond the words. Where else would I go? She asks. That's not an answer. She looks out the window at her childhood home, at the life she's leaving behind whether she wants to or not. I'm coming back, she says. She can almost hear his smile. Good, we have work to do. He hangs up. The car pulls away from the curb, away from the house, away from the last anchor to who she used to be. And Alara sits in silence, feeling the world rearrange itself around choices she didn't know she was making until they were already made. When she gets back to the penthouse, Kyle is waiting in the main room, suit jacket off, sleeves still rolled, looking at something on his tablet. He glances up when she enters. Your father will come around, he says. You don't know that. I do. He has no choice. Kale sets down the tablet. In 3 days, Dorian Vale is going to recommend a specific investor to Marcus. Someone who looks legitimate on paper, but is actually a front for a group that specializes in acquiring failing companies and stripping them for parts. Your father will be desperate enough to consider it. And then? And then you convince him that my offer is better, that partnering with me is the lesser of two evils. By lying to him, by protecting him. Kale moves closer. There's a difference. Is there? She throws his own words back at him. Something flickers in his expression, not quite amusement, maybe respect. You're learning, he says. I'm surviving. Same thing. He turns to walk away, but she stops him. Kyle. He pauses. That photo in your office, the woman with you, who was she? His shoulders tense, just slightly. My mother. What happened to her? Long silence. She trusted the wrong person, he says finally. It killed her. Then he walks away, leaving Alara alone with the weight of information she didn't ask for but can't unknow. She stands in the center of the penthouse, surrounded by glass and steel and the distant lights of a city that doesn't care about her crisis. Her phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number. She opens it. A photo appears. Kael, younger, standing with a man whose face has been crossed out in red. Below it, a single line of text. Ask him about Sarah Kwan. Ask him what he did. Ask him why you should trust anything he says. The message deletes itself 3 seconds later. Alara stares at the blank screen, her heart pounding. She needs answers. And she's terrified of what they'll be. Alara doesn't sleep. She lies in the unfamiliar bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the deleted message over and over in her mind. Ask him about Sarah Kwan. The name means nothing to her, but the way it appeared, anonymous, threatening, designed to unsettle, means everything. Someone is watching her. Someone knows she's here. Someone wants her to doubt Kyle. At 3 a.m., she gives up pretending rest is possible. She slips out of bed, pulls on the silk robe hanging in the closet, and moves through the penthouse with careful footsteps. The place is massive, disorienting in the dark. Glass walls reflect her ghostly shape back at her from multiple angles, making her feel like she's being followed by versions of herself she doesn't recognize. She finds herself drawn back to Kyle's office. The door is locked, but when she tests the handle, it gives. Not locked now. Either he forgot or he's testing her. She pushes it open. Inside, the screens are dark except for one, casting pale blue light across the empty room. The desk sits exactly as she left it earlier, the photograph of Kyle and his mother still in its silver frame. Alara moves to the laptop, taps the touchpad. It wakes immediately, no password required. Another test. The screen shows financial documents, contracts, names she doesn't recognize. She scrolls through, not really knowing what she's looking for, just needing to do something with the adrenaline crackling through her veins. Then she sees it. A folder labeled simply SK. Her fingers hover over the touchpad. This is invasion of privacy. This is crossing a line she can't uncross. She double-clicks. The folder opens. Inside are photographs, documents, news clippings. She clicks the first image. A woman appears on screen. Late 20s, Korean features, sharp cheekbones, eyes that look like they could cut glass. Beautiful in a dangerous way. She's standing outside what looks like a corporate building, caught mid-stride by a telephoto lens. The timestamp reads 3 months ago. Alara clicks the next photo. Same woman, different location. Then another. And another. Dozens of surveillance photos spanning years, tracking this woman's movements, documenting her life. Her stomach turns cold. She opens a document. A dossier, professional and thorough. Sarah Kwon, age 29, CEO of Kwon Enterprises. Education, Yale, Harvard Business School. Family, father deceased, mother remarried, known associates. The list goes on. Financial records, property holdings, travel patterns. Everything about this woman cataloged with obsessive detail. Then Alara reaches a section labeled background/history, and everything tilts. Father. James Kwon, former partner of Cale Arden in Ardent Kwon Holdings, dissolved 2019 following investigation into... She reads faster, her pulse hammering. James Kwon and Kyle had been partners, built a shipping empire together. Then something went wrong, a federal investigation, accusations of illegal activities, someone needing to take the fall. James Kwon took the fall. He went to prison. Died there 3 years later. Heart attack, officially. But the dossier includes newspaper clippings with different theories, suspicious circumstances, questions about why a healthy 52-year-old man suddenly dropped dead in a minimum security facility, and a handwritten note in the margin, not Kyle's writing. She knows what you did. Alara's hands are shaking. She clicks another folder, video files. The first one shows Sarah Kwon entering a building. The timestamp is recent, 2 weeks ago. The location tag reads Vance Industries headquarters. Alara's breath stops. She plays the video. Sarah enters through the main doors, speaks briefly with reception, is escorted to an elevator. The footage cuts to another camera, a hallway on the executive floor. Sarah walking with purpose, entering an office. The nameplate on the door reads Dorian Vale. The camera feed inside the office is poor quality, clearly hidden, but the audio is clear enough. Accelerating the timeline, Sarah's voice, crisp and controlled. Kyle is making his move sooner than anticipated. Dorian's response is harder to hear, but Alara catches fragments. Still need more time. Marcus doesn't suspect. Time is what we don't have. Sarah leans forward, her face sharp in the grainy footage. Ardent married Marcus Vance's daughter. That changes everything. He's positioning for a merger, which means he's trying to acquire legitimacy along with the company. The marriage won't last, Dorian says. It's obviously a transaction. The girl doesn't know what she's gotten into. Doesn't matter what she knows. What matters is what she can be used for. Sarah taps her fingers on the desk, a gesture that radiates controlled violence. Can you push Marcus toward the Crestview deal? Crestview is your front company. Can you push him toward it or not? Yes. But if this goes wrong, it won't go wrong if you do exactly what I'm paying you to do. The video ends. Alara sits frozen, her brain trying to process what she just witnessed. Sarah Kwon isn't just someone from Kyle's past. She's actively working against him, using Dorian, manipulating Vance Industries. And Kyle knows, has known all along. That's why he showed her the messages between Dorian and Adrian, why he positioned himself to acquire the company. He's not just making a business play, he's countering Sarah's attack. But that means Alara isn't just a convenient wife. She's a piece in a game between Kyle and Sarah, a game with rules she doesn't understand and stakes she's only beginning to glimpse. Find what you were looking for? Alara spins around so fast she nearly knocks over the desk chair. Kale stands in the doorway, wearing dark pajama pants and nothing else. The dragon tattoo is fully visible now, coiling across his neck and shoulder, disappearing down his chest. His expression is unreadable, but his eyes track every micro movement she makes. I... Her voice fails. She clears her throat. The door was unlocked. I know. I unlocked it. You wanted me to find this. I wanted to see if you would look. He steps into the office, moving with the kind of casual grace that suggests absolute confidence in his control of the situation. People reveal themselves in what they choose to investigate when they think no one's watching. Alara stands, putting the desk between them. Sarah Kwan, who is she to you? An enemy. That's not specific enough. It's all you need to know right now. Bullshit. The word comes out harder than she intends, but she doesn't take it back. I watched her video with Dorian. She's manipulating my father's company to get to you. She called me a piece on a board. So tell me who she is and why she wants to destroy you, or I walk out of here right now and you can find another convenient wife to play your games with. Kale's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in the air between them. A recalibration. Her father was my business partner, he says finally. We built Ardent Quan Holdings from nothing. Shipping, logistics, legitimate operations that generated legitimate profit. Then James decided legitimate wasn't profitable enough. He brought in illegal activities. He wanted to. I refused. We disagreed. Kale moves to the window, looking out at the pre-dawn darkness. Then the federal investigation started. Someone had been using our shipping routes for things that weren't on any manifest. Someone had been moving money through accounts I didn't authorize. Someone had been building a criminal enterprise using my company as cover. James. Yes. But he wasn't alone. He had partners, people with resources and connections, and no interest in being exposed. Kale's voice is flat, clinical. When the investigation closed in, they needed a firewall, someone to take the blame while they disappeared into legitimate business structures. And you chose James. I chose survival. He turns to face her. James made his choices. He knew the risks. When the evidence pointed to him, he took a deal. 3 years minimum security, financial restitution. In exchange, the investigation stopped. But he died in prison. He did. How? Heart attack. Officially. And unofficially? Kale's silence is answer enough. Alara's stomach twist. Sarah thinks you killed him. Sarah thinks I betrayed him, sacrificed him to save myself. She's not entirely wrong. The casual admission of guilt hits like a physical blow. Did you? Did I personally kill James Kwan? No. Did I make choices that led to his death? Yes. Kale's eyes are winter ice cold. I chose my survival over his. I chose to protect my business over protecting my partner. I chose to let him take the fall because the alternative was taking it myself. Those choices have consequences. James dying in prison is one of them. And Sarah wants revenge. Sarah wants to dismantle everything I built. She wants me to lose the way her father lost, publicly, completely. She wants me destroyed. Alara grips the edge of the desk, her knuckles white. And I'm just collateral damage in your war with her. Your protection. Kale moves closer. Sarah operates through perception and reputation. She destroys from the shadows, makes people think they're making their own choices while she's pulling strings. Marrying you, Marcus Vance's daughter, publicly, dramatically, signals that I have legitimate connections now, family connections. It complicates her strategy. Because destroying you means destroying my father's company too, which means she has to be more careful, more precise. It buys me time. He stops on the other side of the desk, close enough that she can see the pulse in his neck where the dragon's tail curves. And it gives you leverage you didn't have before. Leverage for what? For survival, for power, for making sure people like Adrian and Lila and everyone who underestimated you learn exactly how wrong they were. The words should sound manipulative, should trigger every warning instinct she has. Instead, they sound like truth. The message I got, Alara says, someone sent me a photo, told me to ask you about Sarah. It deleted itself. Kale's expression hardens. Show me your phone. She pulls it from her robe pocket, hands it over. He examines it with practiced efficiency, tapping through screens she didn't know existed. Burner routing, he says after a moment. Routed through 3 different proxy servers. Professional. He looks up. What exactly did it say? She recites it word for word. Ask him about Sarah Kwan. Ask him what he did. Ask him why you should trust anything he says. She's making contact. Kale hands back the phone. Testing your loyalty, trying to plant doubt. Is it working? You're still here. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. He moves around the desk, invading her space deliberately. You want the truth? Here it is. I am not a good man. I have made choices that most people would consider unforgivable. I have hurt people. I have prioritized my survival over their safety. I will continue to do those things when necessary because that's how you stay alive in the world I operate in. His proximity should be intimidating. Instead, it's clarifying. But I have never lied to you, he continues. Not about who I am, not about what this marriage is, not about the fact that being connected to me puts you in danger. Everything I've told you has been true, even when the truth is ugly. And Sarah? Sarah will try to destroy you to get to me. She'll use your father, your past, everything she can leverage. She'll make you doubt me, doubt yourself, doubt everything. His eyes lock onto hers. The question is whether you're strong enough to withstand it. Alara should step back, should put distance between them, should do anything except stand here feeling her anger transform into something more dangerous. I don't need to be strong enough, she says quietly. I need to be smart enough. Something flickers in Kale's expression. Surprise, maybe. Or recognition. Smart enough to do what? To use her the way she's trying to use me. Now Kyle smiles. Not warmth. Something sharper. Explain. Alara's mind is racing, pieces clicking into place with sudden clarity. Sarah wants me to doubt you, to turn against you, to become leverage she can use. Yes. So we let her think it's working. Kale's smile widens fractionally. Keep going. I play the confused victim, the naive girl who married a stranger and is starting to realize what a mistake she made. I reach out to her, looking for answers, looking for help. Alara's pulse is hammering, but her voice is steady. She'll want to recruit me, turn me into an asset inside your operation, and when she does, we learn exactly what she's planning. Kyle tilts his head. It's dangerous. If she suspects you're playing her, the consequences will be severe. More severe than being used as a pawn without knowing the rules? Fair point. So we do it. We need parameters, boundaries. You can't freelance this. Sarah is too smart. Kale pulls out his phone, taps something. We need to make it convincing, which means you need to actually distance yourself from me, publicly, visibly. How? Move back to your apartment. Tell your father you're reconsidering the marriage. Let word spread that you're having doubts. He looks up from his phone. Sarah will hear about it. She'll make contact. When she does, you listen. You gather intelligence. You report back. And if she asks me to actually betray you, to give her information, then we feed her information we want her to have. Kale's expression is calculated, strategic. We use her suspicion against her, make her think she's winning while we position for the real play. Alara should be terrified, should be overwhelmed by the complexity, the danger, the sheer insanity of what he's proposing. Instead, she feels alive. When do we start? She asks. Now. He's already moving, pulling up contacts on his phone, sending messages. Within minutes, he's orchestrated what looks like a crisis. Margaret appears in the doorway, looking concerned but unsurprised. Mrs. Ardent needs her things packed, Kael says without looking up. She's leaving. Sir, not a discussion. Make it happen. Margaret's eyes flick to Alara, searching for confirmation. Alara nods once. I'll prepare the car, Margaret says quietly, and disappears. Kael turns back to Alara. Your father will receive a call from me in approximately 30 minutes. I'll tell him you've left, that the marriage is over, that I'm not contesting an annulment. He'll be relieved. He'll take you back. He'll think he won. And then you play the role. Devastated, confused, questioning everything. You give interviews if approached. You let people see you struggling. His eyes are cold, calculating. You become exactly what everyone expected when I married you. A victim. The word stings, but she understands the strategy. How long? Until Sarah makes contact. Could be days, could be weeks. She'll wait until you're vulnerable enough to approach. And you? I'll be the villain, the cold bastard who used you and discarded you. I'll make it convincing. He pauses. This is your last chance to back out. Once we start this, there's no safe exit. Sarah doesn't forgive betrayal, and she doesn't forget. Elara thinks about Adrian's face in that photo, about her father's company collapsing, about sitting in this penthouse watching screens display information she barely understands while her life rearranges itself around other people's choices. She's done being passive. I'm in, she says. Kale nods once. Then get dressed. You leave in 20 minutes. Make it look real. Take everything, slam some doors, give Margaret something to report to the household staff. Word needs to spread organically. Where will I actually go? Your apartment. I've had it maintained. Your things are still there. He checks his watch. I'll have security positioned nearby, but they'll be invisible. You won't see them unless something goes wrong. How will I contact you? He produces a phone from his desk drawer, sleek, black, unmarked. Burner. My number is the only one programmed. Text only and only when absolutely necessary. Assume everything else is compromised. She takes the phone, feels its weight. Such a small thing to represent such a massive shift. Elara. Kale's voice stops her as she turns to leave. What you saw in those files. What I told you about James. You believe me? She considers lying, considers telling him what he might want to hear. Instead, she tells the truth. I believe you made choices you thought necessary. Whether I agree with them is a different question. That's fair? But Kyle? She meets his eyes. If you're lying to me about any of this, if you're using me the way Sarah thinks you are, I will burn your entire world down. I don't care about the consequences. I don't care about the danger. I will destroy you. For a long moment, he just looks at her. Then something shifts in his expression. Not quite respect. Something deeper. Good, he says. That's exactly the energy you need to survive this. 23 minutes later, Elara walks out of the penthouse with 2 suitcases and an expression carefully constructed to broadcast confusion and pain. She doesn't look back, doesn't hesitate, just gets in the car and lets herself be driven away from glass and steel and the strange safety she found there. The driver takes her to her old apartment, the one she was supposed to leave when she married Adrian, the one that now feels like archaeological evidence of who she used to be. She climbs the stairs slowly, key in hand, and opens the door to familiar emptiness. Everything is exactly as she left it 3 days ago. Coffee mug in the sink, mail on the counter, a wedding planning binder sitting on the kitchen table, bookmarked to the page about seating arrangements for a reception that never happened. She closes the door, locks it, and slides down to sit on the floor with her back against the wood. This is it, the point of no return. She's chosen to play in Kyle's world, chosen to become an active participant in a war she barely understands, chosen to risk everything on the slim possibility that she's smart enough and strong enough and ruthless enough to survive what comes next. Her phone, the real one, not the burner, starts ringing immediately. Her mother. Then her father. Then Jenna. Then numbers she doesn't recognize. She ignores all of them. Instead, she opens her laptop, starts researching. Sarah Kwan, Kwan Enterprises, James Kwan's death, the investigation. Everything Kyle told her, verified or challenged by whatever information exists in public record. Hours pass. The sun rises. Coffee grows cold in a mug she doesn't remember making. And slowly, piece by piece, a picture emerges. Kale wasn't lying about the facts. James Kwan did go to prison, did die there, did have partners who disappeared into legitimate business structures while he took the fall. But there are gaps in the story, inconsistencies, things that don't quite align. And in those gaps, Elara starts to see the shape of something larger. A knock on her door makes her jump. She checks the peephole. Her father, looking exhausted and hopeful. She opens the door. Elara. Marcus Vance's voice cracks. Thank God. Kale called me, said you left, said it's over. It is. The lie tastes like copper. I made a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. Her father pulls her into a hug she hasn't felt since she was a child. It's okay. You're home now. We'll fix this. We'll get the annulment. We'll move forward. She lets herself be held, lets herself feel the comfort of familiar arms, all while her mind calculates next steps and contingencies and everything that has to happen for this performance to be convincing. Dad, she says into his shoulder. I need to tell you something about Dorian. She feels him tense. What about Dorian? This is it, the first card played. I think he's working against you. Her father pulls back, searches her face. What are you talking about? Kale showed me things. Messages between Dorian and someone else. Plans to push you toward a specific investment deal that's actually a front for sis. Stop. Her father's expression hardens. This is exactly what Kyle wants. To make you doubt everyone around me, to isolate you, to control information. Dad, I saw the messages. Messages can be faked. Alara, you've known Dorian for years. He's been loyal to this family, to this company. You really think he'd betray me? She can see it happening in real time. The refusal to believe. The cognitive dissonance. The way her father's mind protects itself from information that doesn't fit his worldview. Kale was right. Truth doesn't matter as much as what people are willing to accept. Maybe you're right, she says, backing down deliberately. Maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe Kyle got in my head. Relief floods her father's face. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. But you're out now. You're safe. Safe. The word feels like a joke. Her father stays for another hour, talking about annulment proceedings, about getting her life back on track, about how everything will be fine now that she's home. Alara nods and agrees and plays the role of confused victim perfectly. When he finally leaves, she locks the door and pulls out the burner phone. One message to Kyle. He didn't believe me about Dorian, convinced it's manipulation. Response comes 30 seconds later. Expected. Proceed as planned. Wait for contact. She sets the phone down, returns to her research. 3 days pass. 3 days of phone calls from concerned friends, of her mother stopping by with food she doesn't eat, of Jenna wanting details she refuses to give, of maintaining the performance of someone whose life has fallen apart. It's exhausting and isolating and exactly what it needs to be. On the 4th day, she gets an email from an address she doesn't recognize. Subject line, "We should talk." The body of the email contains a single sentence. Coffee? I think we have mutual interests. Yes. Alara stares at the screen, her pulse hammering. Sarah Kwan is making contact. She picks up the burner phone, texts Kyle. She reached out, email, wants to meet. His response, accept, public place. Record everything. I'll have people nearby, but they won't interfere unless necessary. Alara types a response to the email before she can overthink it. When and where. The reply is almost instant. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Cafe Monarch. Come alone. She confirms, closes the laptop, and sits in her quiet apartment trying to slow her racing heart. This is happening. This is real. Tomorrow she'll sit across from the woman who wants to destroy Kyle. The woman who thinks Alara is a pawn. The woman who has no idea she's walking into a trap. Or maybe Alara is the one walking into a trap. Maybe this is all exactly what Sarah wants. The thought keeps her awake all night, turning over every possibility, every angle, every way this could go catastrophically wrong. When morning comes, she's exhausted but focused. She dresses carefully, nothing too polished. She needs to look like someone who's been through trauma. Jeans, simple sweater, minimal makeup. Her hair pulled back in a messy knot. The image of someone barely holding it together. She takes the bus to Cafe Monarch because taking the car Kyle would have sent seems too obvious. The cafe is in a busy shopping district. Lots of foot traffic, lots of witnesses. Smart choice for a first meeting. Alara arrives 15 minutes early, orders coffee she won't drink, and takes a table near the window where she can watch people pass. At exactly 2 p.m., Sarah Kwan walks in. She's smaller in person than in the photographs. More delicate. But there's nothing delicate about the way she moves. Precise, controlled, every gesture economical. She's wearing a cream-colored suit that probably costs more than Alara's monthly rent, her dark hair swept into a flawless twist. Their eyes meet across the cafe. Sarah smiles. It doesn't reach her eyes. She approaches the table, extends a hand. Alara, thank you for meeting me. Alara shakes her hand. The grip is firm, professional. You didn't give me much choice. Mutual interest is pretty vague. I prefer to discuss details in person. Sarah sits, signals a server, orders an espresso without looking at the menu. You left Kyle. Not a question, a statement. I did. Why? Because I made a mistake marrying him in the first place. Alara keeps her voice level, tinged with just enough bitterness to sound convincing. I was hurt and angry, and I let him manipulate me into thinking he was some kind of solution. And now you know better. Now I know he's exactly what my father said he was, a criminal using legitimate business as cover for things I don't even want to know about. Sarah's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in her eyes. Calculation. What did he tell you about me? That you're his enemy. That your father was his business partner and something went wrong. That you blame him for your father's death. Alara meets Sarah's gaze. Is any of that true? All of it. Sarah's voice is cold, precise. K.L. Ardent destroyed my father, made him take the fall for crimes they committed together. Then let him die in prison while K.L. rebuilt his empire on the ashes of what they'd created. Everything my father worked for, K.L. stole. Everything my family had, K.L. took. The raw pain underneath the controlled delivery is real. Whatever else Sarah is, she genuinely believes what she's saying. I'm sorry, Alara says, and means it. Don't be sorry, be smart. Sarah leans forward slightly. You have access K.L. doesn't think you have anymore. Information. Connections. Your father's company. K.L. wants to acquire Vance Industries to expand his legitimate holdings and make himself untouchable. But he's vulnerable right now. The marriage falling apart makes him look unstable, makes investors nervous. And you want me to make it worse. I want you to help me destroy him before he destroys more lives. Sarah's eyes are sharp, burning. Your father is next, Alara. K.L. will take Vance Industries apart piece by piece. He'll leave your family with nothing, unless someone stops him. Alara lets silence stretch, lets herself look torn, conflicted. What would you want me to do? Information about his operations, his finances, his vulnerabilities. You were in his home, you saw things, heard things. You know more than you probably realize. And if I help you, what do I get? Protection, resources, and the satisfaction of knowing you prevented him from doing to your family what he did to mine. Sarah pulls a card from her purse, slides it across the table. Think about it. When you're ready, call that number. We'll talk specifics. Alara takes the card, studies it, embossed lettering, a phone number, nothing else. How do I know you're not just using me the way K.L. did? She asks. You don't. Sarah stands, smooths her suit. But unlike K.L., I'm not pretending this is anything other than what it is. A transaction. You help me, I help you. No lies, no manipulation, just mutual benefit. She leaves cash on the table for her untouched espresso and walks out without looking back. Alara sits alone, card in hand, her mind racing through everything that just happened. Sarah was convincing, genuinely angry, genuinely hurt, and absolutely certain that K.L. is the villain in this story. Maybe she's right. Maybe K.L. has been lying all along. Maybe Alara is making the same mistake she made with Adrian, trusting someone who's using her. Her phone, the real one, buzzes. Text from her father. Can you come by the office? We need to discuss something urgent. She texts back, on my way. The burner phone stays silent. No message from K.L., no check-in, just silence. She takes another bus, this time to Vance Industries headquarters. The building looks smaller than she remembers. Or maybe she's just seeing everything differently now. Security recognizes her, waves her through. She takes the elevator to the executive floor, walks familiar hallways to her father's corner office. Her father's assistant looks worried. He's been waiting for you. Go right in. Alara opens the door. Her father is standing behind his desk with Dorian Vale beside him. Both men look grim. Alara, her father says, voice tight. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Dorian speaks up, his tone smooth and concerned. We've received a takeover bid. Crestview Capital. They're offering to acquire Vance Industries at a significant premium. Alara's stomach drops. Crestview. The front company Sarah mentioned in the video. That's good, isn't it? She says carefully. You need capital. It's too good. Her father sits heavily in his chair. The offer is generous enough that the board will pressure me to accept. But something feels wrong about it. Dorian leans against the desk, perfectly positioned between Alara and her father. I've done due diligence. Crestview appears legitimate on paper, but there are some irregularities. Shell companies, offshore accounts. It has the structure of a front operation. He's setting up his own trap, making himself look like the loyal advisor who's suspicious of Sarah's company while secretly working with her. "What are you going to do?" Alara asks her father. "I don't know." Marcus looks older than she's ever seen him. "If I refuse, the board might force a vote. If I accept, I might be handing the company to people who will strip it for parts." "What about Kael's offer?" The words are out before she can stop them. The room goes silent. Dorian's eyes narrow fractionally. "I thought you left him." "I did, but his offer was legitimate. A merger, not a takeover. My father would maintain control." "Alara," her father says quietly, "I will not take money from that man, not after what he did to you." "He didn't do anything to me. I made my own choice." "A choice you regretted immediately." "A choice I'm reconsidering." She looks between her father and Dorian. "What if Kael's offer is actually better than Crestview's? What if refusing him is letting pride destroy everything you built?" Her father's face hardens. This isn't about pride. It's about principles, about not doing business with criminals. Criminals like the people behind Crestview? She knows she's pushing too hard but can't seem to stop. "You don't know who they are. At least with Kael, you know what you're getting." "I know what I'm getting with Kael," her father says, "and I won't have it." Dorian places a hand on Marcus's shoulder, a gesture of support that makes Alara's skin crawl. "Marcus, perhaps we should take some time. Review both offers carefully. Make a decision based on all available information." "There's nothing to review about Ardent's offer," Marcus snaps. "It's not happening." Alara watches Dorian's expression, sees the micro flash of satisfaction quickly masked by concern. He's winning, pushing her father exactly where Sarah wants him, and Alara realizes with sickening clarity that she's out of moves. If she pushes harder for Kael's offer, her father will think she's still under his influence. If she backs off, Dorian will successfully push him toward Crestview and Sarah's trap. There's no good choice, only different ways to lose. "I need to go," she says abruptly. "Alara," her father starts, but she's already moving toward the door. "I'll call you later." She leaves before he can argue, walks quickly through the hallways, punches the elevator button with more force than necessary. Her hands are shaking. The elevator descends. She pulls out the burner phone. Message to Kael. "Father won't take your offer. Dorian pushing him toward Crestview. We're losing." The doors open. She steps into the lobby. Her phone buzzes. Not the burner. Her real phone. Unknown number. Text message. She opens it. A photo appears. Kael, standing outside a warehouse. Beside him, a man whose face Alara recognizes from her research, Viktor Morozov, known arms dealer, currently wanted by Interpol. Below the photo. "Still think you know who you're working with? Call me when you're ready to talk truth. S." The phone buzzes again, the burner this time. Kael's message. "Meeting tonight in my office, 8 p.m. Don't be late." Alara stands in the lobby, caught between two phones, two messages, two versions of reality that can't both be true. And she realizes she's not playing anyone. She's the one being played. By both of them. The question is, which lie is closer to the truth? And will she survive finding out? Alara stands in the lobby, staring at both phones, her pulse hammering so hard she can feel it in her throat. The photo of Kael with Viktor Morozov burns into her retinas even after she closes the screen. Arms dealer, war criminal, the kind of man whose name appears in classified briefings and international warrants, and Kael was standing next to him like they were discussing the weather. She shoves both phones into her bag and walks out of the building into afternoon sunlight that feels obscene in its normalcy. People passing on the sidewalk, talking on phones, carrying coffee, living lives that aren't fragmenting in real time. Her hands won't stop shaking. She needs to think, needs space to process, needs to figure out what the hell she's actually standing in the middle of. But Kael's message is clear. 8 p.m., his office. Don't be late. 4 hours. Alara walks without destination, letting muscle memory navigate while her brain spins through scenarios. Every interaction with Kael replays in her head, searching for the lie, searching for the moment she should have seen this coming. But what is this exactly? Kael told her he wasn't a good man, told her he'd made unforgivable choices, told her the world he operates in requires survival over morality. She believed him. But there's a difference between understanding someone operates in gray areas and discovering they're standing shoulder to shoulder with people who traffic in death. Her phone, the real one, rings. Jenna. Alara almost doesn't answer, but Jenna will just keep calling, and right now she needs to maintain the appearance of normal. "Hey," she says, forcing steadiness into her voice. "Oh my God, you answered." Jenna sounds breathless, excited. "I've been trying to reach you for days. Are you okay? Is it true you left him?" "Yeah, it's true. Thank God. Everyone was so worried. Adrian's been asking about you. Adrian can go to hell." Silence on the line. Then, carefully. "Okay, fair. But Alara, seriously, are you okay? You don't sound okay." "I'm fine. Just dealing with a lot. Do you want to meet up? Talk? I can come over." "No." Too sharp. She moderates her tone. "I mean, not right now. I just need some space to process everything." "Of course. But if you need anything, I know, thanks, Jenna." She ends the call before her cousin can push further. The burner phone stays silent. No follow-up from Kyle, no additional instructions. Just the meeting time hanging over her like a deadline. Alara finds herself at a park she doesn't remember walking to. She sits on a bench, watches children on swings, tries to imagine what it would be like to live in a world where the biggest problem is whose turn it is on the slide. Her mind won't stop calculating. Option 1. Go to the meeting. Confront Kyle about the photo. Demand the full truth about Viktor Morozov and whatever illegal operations he's actually running. Risk him shutting down, lying, or worse, confirming every terrible thing Sarah implied. Option 2. Don't go. Ghost him. Take Sarah's offer. Help her destroy Kyle and hope that's actually justice instead of just a different flavor of revenge. Option 3. Play both sides until she has enough information to make an actual informed choice instead of reacting to whoever's manipulating her most effectively in the moment. None of them are good. All of them are dangerous. She pulls out Sarah's card, studies the embossed number. One phone call, and she could have answers, or more lies dressed up as truth. Her finger hovers over her phone's keypad. Then she sees him, across the park, leaning against a tree like he has all the time in the world. Watching her. Kyle. He's not supposed to be here. They're not supposed to have contact. That was the entire point of her leaving. But there he is, in dark jeans and a black jacket, the dragon tattoo visible at his collar, eyes locked on her with an intensity that makes every muscle in her body tense. He doesn't approach, just watches, waiting. Alara stands, legs unsteady, and walks toward him. Every instinct screams that this is a mistake, that meeting him in public breaks the careful performance they've constructed. But she's past caring about the performance. She needs answers. When she reaches him, he straightens from the tree but doesn't speak, just tilts his head toward a path leading deeper into the park, away from the playground and its oblivious families. She follows. They walk in silence for 2 minutes, 3, until they're in a section of the park that's mostly empty. Trees providing cover from casual observation, the sound of traffic distant and muffled. Kale stops, turns to face her. "You got the photo," he says. Not a question. "You knew she'd send it." "I suspected." Sarah's predictable in her tactics. "Find evidence of my associations with questionable people. Use it to make you doubt." He pulls out his own phone, swipes through images, shows her the screen. "Here's one from 3 months ago. Me with Jonathan Vex, corporate raider currently under investigation for securities fraud. Here's one from last year. Me with Senator Halstead, who's been accused of taking bribes. I can show you 50 more just like them." That doesn't make it better. It makes it context. Kale pockets the phone. "Viktor Morozov approached me 6 weeks ago wanting to use my shipping routes. I met with him to say no in person. That meeting lasted 12 minutes. Sarah had it photographed from a distance to make it look like we're partners. How do I know that's true? You don't." His eyes are ice gray and absolutely direct. "You don't know what's true. That's the entire problem. You're standing in the middle of a war where both sides will tell you whatever keeps you moving in their preferred direction." "Then tell me something real," Alara's voice cracks. "Tell me something I can actually verify. Something that proves you're not just another person using me." Kyle is silent for a long moment. Then he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a folded document. "James Kwan didn't die of a heart attack. he says quietly. He was murdered by Sarah. The words hit like a physical blow. What? James was going to expose the people who partnered with him in the illegal operations. He cut a deal with federal prosecutors to provide names, evidence, everything, in exchange for early release and witness protection. Kyle unfolds the document, hands it to her. This is a copy of the deal, signed 3 days before he died. Elara's hands shake as she reads. It's official, federal letterhead, James Kwan's signature, details about testimony he was prepared to give. Sarah found out, Kyle continues. She couldn't let him destroy the network her family had built, even if it meant destroying her father to protect it. So she had him killed, made it look natural. A heart attack no one questioned because prison deaths aren't investigated that thoroughly when the victim is already convicted. You have proof of this? I have connections inside the prison system who confirm the timeline. I have medical records that show inconsistencies in the autopsy. I have intercepted communications between Sarah and a man named Marcus Chen, who specializes in making deaths look accidental. He pauses. What I don't have is evidence that would hold up in court, because Sarah is very, very good at covering her tracks. Elara's mind reels. If Sarah killed her own father, then she's capable of anything, including using you to get to me, including destroying your father's company as collateral damage, including killing you if you become more useful, dead than alive. The casual delivery of that last part makes her stomach turn. You think she'd actually... I think Sarah sees people as assets or obstacles. Right now, you're an asset. The moment you stop being useful, you become an obstacle. Kael's expression is grim. And she eliminates obstacles. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I needed you to choose to help me, not be frightened into it. Fear makes people unpredictable. You needed to come to this yourself. By letting me think you might be the villain, by letting you see both versions of the story and decide which one makes more sense. Elara wants to scream, wants to throw the document at him, wants to demand why everything has to be games and manipulation and strategic positioning instead of just honest fucking communication. But she's learning. In Kael's world, honesty is a weapon, and he only uses weapons when necessary. The meeting tonight, she says. What's it about? Dorian made his move, convinced your father to seriously consider Crestview's offer. The board votes in 3 days. If they accept, Sarah gets Vance Industries and uses it to dismantle my legitimate business holdings piece by piece. If they reject it, your father's company collapses within the month. So we're out of time. We're out of conventional options. Kael's eyes narrow, which is why tonight we move to unconventional ones. Meaning what? Meaning we force Sarah's hand, make her reveal herself before she's ready, create a crisis that requires her to act publicly instead of through proxies. How? By giving her exactly what she thinks she wants. He checks his watch. The meeting at 8. You'll be there. So will Dorian. So will someone Sarah doesn't know about yet. Who? Someone who can testify to everything she's done. Someone she thought she'd buried along with her father's secrets. Kael's expression is cold, calculated. Someone who's been waiting 5 years for a chance at revenge. Elara's pulse hammers. You're setting a trap. I'm creating an opportunity. What happens next depends entirely on how Sarah responds. And if she doesn't respond the way you expect, then we improvise. The word improvise in a situation this volatile should terrify her. Instead, it clarifies something. Kael doesn't have all the answers, doesn't have every move planned. He's operating on strategy and instinct and hoping it's enough, just like she is. What do you need from me? She asks. I need you to be exactly what Sarah thinks you are. Confused, conflicted, vulnerable. When Dorian arrives at the meeting, you question everything I say. You make it look like you're still deciding whether to trust me. I am still deciding whether to trust you. Good. Use that. Make it real. He moves closer, close enough that she can see the individual lines of the dragon tattoo, the scar tissue underneath suggesting it was inked over older damage. Sarah will be watching, even if she's not physically present. She needs to believe you're genuinely torn, that you're a weakness she can exploit. And when she tries to exploit it, then we spring the trap. Elara should ask more questions, should demand details, contingencies, guarantees of safety. But she's realizing that in this world, there are no guarantees, just calculated risks and the hope that you're faster, smarter, more ruthless than the other side. 8 p.m., she says. I'll be there. Kale nods once. Don't come early. Don't tell anyone where you're going. And Alara? He catches her wrist, his grip firm. Whatever you see tonight, whatever gets said, remember that the only person you can truly trust is yourself. Not me, not Sarah, not even your father, just you. He releases her and walks away, disappearing between trees like he was never there. Alara stands alone, document still in her hand, trying to process everything that just happened. If Kyle is telling the truth, Sarah is a murderer willing to kill her own father to protect power. If Sarah is telling the truth, Kyle is a criminal who let his partner take the fall and die for crimes they committed together. If they're both lying, Alara is a pawn in a game she can't win. If they're both telling partial truths, she needs to figure out which parts are real before the pieces stop moving and everyone's position becomes permanent. She looks at the document, the signatures, the dates, the official seals. It looks real, but so did Adrian's love. Alara folds the paper carefully, slides it into her bag next to both phones, and starts walking back toward civilization. She has 4 hours. 4 hours to decide who she is and what she's willing to become. 4 hours before everything explodes. She spends them preparing. First, she goes back to her apartment. Showers, changes into dark jeans, black sweater, boots with good traction, clothes that move. Nothing that restricts or catches or makes her vulnerable. Then she eats, forcing down protein and carbs her body will need if tonight goes sideways. Then she searches her apartment methodically, looking for anything that doesn't belong. Cameras, listening devices, evidence that someone's been monitoring her. She finds 2. One camera hidden in the smoke detector, one microphone embedded in the electrical outlet near her desk. She leaves them in place, doesn't give any indication she knows they're there, but now she knows. Someone's been watching, either Kale or Sarah or both. The surveillance clarifies something. She's not paranoid. She's not overreacting. She's genuinely in danger, and the only person she can count on is herself. Just like Kyle said. At 7:30, she leaves the apartment, takes her car instead of calling for one, drives through city streets with one eye on the rearview mirror, watching for tails. She spots 2, different vehicles, different license plates, one hanging back by 3 cars, one closer, more aggressive. She doesn't try to lose them. That would signal awareness. Instead, she drives normally, legally, giving no indication she knows she's being followed. At 7:55, she pulls into the parking structure beneath Kyle's building. The familiar black car is already there. So is a silver sedan she doesn't recognize. Dorian's car. Her pulse kicks higher. She takes the elevator to Kyle's floor, her reflection fractured in the mirrored walls. She looks calm, collected. Nothing like the chaos screaming inside her skull. The elevator opens. Margaret is waiting, expression unreadable. Mrs. Ardent? This way. I told you not to call me that. Mr. Ardent's instructions. Margaret leads her through the penthouse toward the office. He said to use your married name tonight, no matter what happens. They reach the office door. Margaret opens it, steps aside. Good luck, she says quietly. Then she's gone. Alara steps inside. The office is lit differently than before. Harsher. More clinical. The screens on the walls display financial data, news feeds, security camera footage from multiple locations. Kale stands behind his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled, looking like he's preparing for war. Dorian Vale sits in one of the chairs facing the desk, perfectly composed in an expensive suit, his expression politely curious. And in the third chair, a man Alara doesn't recognize. Late 50s, Korean features, salt and pepper hair, eyes that have seen things that left marks. He's wearing casual clothes, jeans, button-down shirt, but carries himself with military precision. Alara, Kale's voice is carefully neutral. Thank you for coming. I believe you know Dorian. Dorian stands, extends his hand with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Alara, I'm surprised to see you here. I thought you and Kyle had ended things. She ignores his hand. We're discussing options. Options? Dorian's smile tightens. How practical. And this, Kyle gestures to the unfamiliar man, is Daniel Song, former head of security for Ardent Quan Holdings. He has information relevant to our current situation. Daniel Song nods at her, his expression grim. Dorian's posture shifts almost imperceptibly, tension creeping in beneath the polished surface. I don't understand. What does former security have to do with Vance Industries? Everything, Cale says quietly. Please, sit, all of you. Alara takes the remaining chair, acutely aware of Dorian's proximity, of the way his fingers tap against his knee in a rhythm that suggests barely controlled anxiety. Cale remains standing, positioning himself with the desk between him and everyone else. Strategic, defensible. Dorian, he says, how long have you been working with Sarah Quan? The question lands like a grenade. Dorian's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. You've been communicating with her for 8 months, feeding her information about Marcus Vance's company, sabotaging deals, creating the conditions for collapse, all to position Vance Industries for acquisition by Crestview Capital, which is a shell company Sarah controls. That's absurd. Dorian's voice is calm, but his fingers have stopped tapping, gone completely still. I've dedicated 8 years to Vance Industries, to Marcus. Why would I betray him? Money? Revenge? Ideology? Pick your motive. Cale pulls up a screen, displays the messages Alara saw days ago. These are your communications with Sarah, detailed, incriminating, undeniable. Dorian looks at the screen, then at Kyle, then at Alara. These are fabricated. Kyle is manipulating you, Alara, just like he manipulated you into marrying him. He's creating false evidence to discredit anyone who threatens his acquisition plans. Is that what you think I'm doing? Kyle's voice is ice. It's what I know you're doing. Dorian stands, smoothing his suit. Marcus was right about you. You're a criminal pretending to be legitimate, and Alara is finally seeing through it. He turns to her. You don't have to be part of this. We can leave right now. Go to your father. Show him what Kyle really is. Alara looks between them. Kyle, cold and controlled. Dorian, smooth and concerned. Both of them selling versions of truth designed to move her like a piece on their board. Mr. Song, she says, addressing the silent man in the third chair. What information do you have? Daniel Song clears his throat. I worked for James Quan before his arrest. I was head of security when the federal investigation started. I know what happened, who was responsible, and why. Then tell me. James and Cale were partners, but they weren't equals. James handled operations. Cale handled finance and strategy. When illegal activities started appearing in their shipping manifests, James assumed it was Kyle's doing. Cale assumed it was James's. They were both wrong. Then whose was it? Alara asks. Sarah's. Daniel's expression darkens. She'd been building her own network inside her father's company, using his infrastructure without his knowledge. When the investigation got close, she needed someone to take the fall. James was convenient. He was already suspicious of Kyle, already prone to believing the worst. She fed him evidence that made it look like Kyle was behind everything, convinced him to take a deal that would expose Kyle while protecting her. But the deal never went through, Kyle says, because James died before he could testify. Sarah arranged it. Daniel pulls out a folder, slides it across the desk toward Alara. I have documentation, communications, financial transfers, everything proving she ordered the hit on her own father to prevent him from exposing her operations. Alara opens the folder with shaking hands. Inside are photographs, bank statements, intercepted messages, evidence that looks real, looks damning, looks exactly like what Kyle would create if he wanted to destroy Sarah's credibility. Why are you coming forward now? She asked Daniel. If you've had this information for years, why wait? Because Sarah had leverage over me. My family. She made it clear that if I ever spoke up, they'd pay the price. His jaw tightens. But my daughter turned 18 last week. She's legally independent now, beyond Sarah's reach. I'm done being silent. Dorian laughs, sharp and bitter. This is theater. Kyle brought you here to perform, didn't he? To tell a story that conveniently makes him the victim and Sarah the villain. How much is he paying you? Nothing, Daniel says quietly. I'm doing this because it's right. Right. Dorian's voice drips contempt. There's no right here, just people positioning for advantage. And Alara, you're in the middle of it. He moves toward the door. I'm leaving. This is a waste of time. You're not going anywhere, Kyle says. Something in his voice stops Dorian mid-step. Actually, I am. Dorian reaches for the door handle. You can't keep me here against my will. That's kidnapping. It's not kidnapping if you're being detained for crimes you've committed. What crimes? Dorian's composure is starting to crack. You have no authority. I have evidence of corporate espionage, fraud, and conspiracy to commit theft of trade secrets. I've already sent copies to federal prosecutors. Kale's expression is stone. You're done, Dorian. The only question is whether you go quietly or make this ugly. Dorian's hand tightens on the door handle. You're bluffing. Try me. For a long moment, nobody moves. The office is silent except for the hum of electronics and the distant sound of city traffic far below. Then Dorian's phone rings. He pulls it out, looks at the screen. His face goes pale. Answer it, Kale says. Put it on speaker. Dorian's fingers shake as he accepts the call and taps the speaker button. Sarah's voice fills the office, cold, precise, furious. Dorian? What the hell is happening? I'm getting alerts that federal subpoenas just hit Crestview's accounts. Dorian's eyes dart to Kale. I don't know. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake. Someone leaked our communications. Someone exposed the operation. A pause. Was it you? No, I swear. Then who? Sarah's voice could cut glass. You were the only one with access to those files. Kyle. Dorian's voice cracks. Kale Ardent has been... I know what Ardent's been doing. What I don't know is why you're still breathing instead of handling it. Silence. Then quieter. Where are you right now? Dorian doesn't answer. Dorian, where are you? I'm at Ardent's office. The silence that follows is absolute. Then Sarah laughs. Not amusement, something darker. You idiot! You walked right into his trap. I can fix this. You can't fix anything. You're compromised, burned, useless to me now. The line goes dead. Dorian stares at his phone, watching the screen go black, his carefully constructed composure completely shattered. She just cut you loose, Kyle says quietly. You understand what that means? It means... Dorian's voice is hollow. It means she'll eliminate me. Make sure I can't testify against her. Which gives you one option for survival. Kyle leans forward. Cooperate with federal prosecutors. Give them everything, in exchange for protection. You want me to betray her. I want you to save yourself. Sarah has already decided you're expendable. The question is whether you accept that or fight back. Dorian sinks into the chair, head in his hands. I never meant for it to go this far. She promised me a position in the new company, a fresh start. I didn't know she was planning to kill people. But you knew she was destroying Marcus Vance, Alara says, her voice hard. You knew you were sabotaging a man who trusted you. Dorian looks up at her, eyes red. Your father was collateral damage, nothing personal, just business. The words ignite something white-hot in Alara's chest. She's on her feet before she realizes she's moving, crossing the space between them, her hand connecting with Dorian's face with a crack that echoes in the office. He trusted you, she hears herself say, voice shaking. He relied on you, and you sold him out for money and revenge that wasn't even yours. Dorian touches his cheek, doesn't respond. Kale moves between them, putting himself in Alara's line of attack. That's enough. It's not nearly enough. Alara. His voice cuts through her rage. That's enough. She forces herself to step back, hands trembling, pulse hammering in her ears. The office door opens. Margaret appears with two men in dark suits, federal agents based on the badges clipped to their belts. Mr. Vale, one of them says, we need you to come with us. Dorian stands slowly, all fight drained out of him. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but we have questions about your involvement with Crestview Capital and Sarah Kwan. You're welcome to have an attorney present. They escort him out. Dorian doesn't look back. The door closes. Alara, Kyle, and Daniel Song are left in sudden silence. That's one problem solved, Daniel says quietly. That's one piece moved, Kyle corrects. Sarah still has resources, still has connections. Dorian was just one asset among many. What happens now? Alara asks, her voice rough. Now Sarah knows we have evidence, knows Dorian is cooperating, knows her Crestview acquisition is dead. Kale moves to the window, looking out at the city. She'll retaliate, hard, fast, probably within hours. Against who? Against anyone she thinks hurt her. Your father, Vance Industries, you. He turns to face her. Which is why you can't go home tonight. You stay here, protected. I'm not hiding. You're being smart. His eyes are iron. Sarah just lost significant leverage and a major acquisition. She's going to be desperate. Desperate people are unpredictable, dangerous. As if summoned by the words, all the screens in the office suddenly go black. Then they flicker back on, displaying a single image. Sarah Kwan, sitting in what looks like an expensive hotel room, perfectly composed, staring directly into the camera. Hello, Kyle, she says, her voice coming through the speakers with crystal clarity. I see you've been busy. Kale's expression hardens. Sarah, I have to admit, using Dorian as bait was clever. I underestimated how quickly you'd turn him. My mistake. She tilts her head. But mistakes are learning opportunities, and I'm a very fast learner. What do you want? I want what I've always wanted. Everything you took from me. My father's company, my family's legacy, my future. Her eyes are bright with controlled fury. You destroyed all of that, and now I'm going to destroy you. You're welcome to try. Oh, I'm not trying anymore, Kyle. I'm doing. She leans forward slightly. Right now, there are people moving into position. People you can't stop. People who are going to dismantle every legitimate holding you have. Your shipping company, your real estate, your investments, all of it. Empty threats. By morning, your assets will be frozen pending investigation into financial crimes. Your business partners will be subpoenaed. Your accounts will be audited. Sarah's smile is cold. And Vance Industries, since I can't acquire it through Crestview, I'll just burn it down instead. Marcus Vance will lose everything, his company, his reputation, his legacy. Alara's blood runs cold. Leave my father out of this. Your father is already in it, sweetheart. Sarah's eyes shift to Alara. You chose the wrong side. That was your mistake. Now you get to watch everyone you care about pay for it. This is between us, Kyle says. Leave them alone. It stopped being just between us when you married his daughter, when you made this personal instead of professional. Sarah stands, smoothing her suit. You wanted a war, Kale? Fine. You've got one. And I'm going to win. The screens go black, then return to their normal displays as if nothing happened. Alara's legs feel unsteady. She can't actually do all that. Can she? She can try. Kale is already moving, pulling up files, making calls. Daniel, I need you to contact everyone on the protected witness list. Make sure they're secure. If Sarah's moving, she'll target anyone who can testify against her. Daniel nods, pulling out his phone. Kale turns to Alara. I need to call your father. Warn him. Get him somewhere safe. He won't listen to you. Then you call him. Alara pulls out her phone with shaking hands, dials her father's number. It rings. And rings. And rings. No answer. She tries again. Nothing. He's not answering. Kale's expression darkens. Try his office. Try security. Try anyone at Vance Industries. She tries them all. Nobody answers. Kale pulls up security camera feeds from Vance Industries headquarters. The screens fill with images of the building. Empty, dark, shut down. What's happening? Alara's voice cracks. Kale zooms in on one of the cameras. The front entrance. There's something on the door. A notice. Federal seal. She did it, he says quietly. She got federal agents to raid Vance Industries, probably claiming evidence of fraud. It'll take hours to sort out, but by then the damage is done. My father is probably being questioned right now. They would have taken him into custody, standard procedure. Alara's world tilts, her father in federal custody, his company raided, everything collapsing in real time. Because of her. Because she chose to help Kyle instead of walking away. This is my fault, she hears herself say. This is Sarah's doing, Kyle corrects. Don't confuse the two. I made a choice. You made the right choice. Sarah would have destroyed your father regardless. At least this way, he has a chance. What chance? His company is being raided. He's being questioned for crimes he didn't commit. His CFO just got arrested. How is any of that a chance? Kyle moves to her, grips her shoulders. Because we have evidence that proves Dorian was the one committing fraud. Because Daniel's testimony will support your father's innocence. Because federal investigators are thorough. And when they dig deep enough, they'll find the truth. How long will that take? Days. Maybe weeks. And in the meantime, my father sits in federal custody while his reputation is destroyed? Cale doesn't answer. Doesn't need to. Alara pulls away from him, pacing the office, her mind racing. There has to be something we can do. Some way to fix this faster. There is, Daniel says quietly. Both of them turn to look at him. Sarah's exposed now, Daniel continues. She's making aggressive moves that leave trails. She's acting on emotion instead of strategy. That makes her vulnerable. Vulnerable how? Kyle asks. She's somewhere local. Had to be, to coordinate everything this quickly. If we can find her location, confront her directly, force her to call off the federal investigation. She won't call it off, Alara interrupts. She just declared war. She's not going to suddenly decide to negotiate. She will if we have leverage. Daniel meets her eyes. Something she wants more than revenge. Like what? Like proof that she killed her father. Real proof. Evidence that would put her in prison for the rest of her life. Cale's expression sharpens. You said you had documentation, photos, communications. I have pieces, but not enough for a criminal conviction. What we'd need is the actual recording from the prison. The security footage showing Marcus Chen entering James Kwan's cell the night he died. That footage exists. Sarah has it. She keeps it as insurance, proof that she can eliminate anyone who crosses her. Where would she keep it? Somewhere secure. Somewhere she has physical access. Daniel pauses. Probably her penthouse, top floor of the Monarch Tower. Cale and Alara exchange glances. You want us to break into her home, Alara says. I want you to retrieve evidence that saves your father and puts Sarah in prison where she belongs. Daniel stands. I can get you building access. I can disable her security system for approximately 10 minutes, but you'd have to move fast, and if she's there, then it becomes a direct confrontation, Cale finishes. One you might not walk away from, Daniel adds. The office goes silent. Alara looks at the screens, at the federal notices on her father's building, at the empire Sarah is dismantling piece by piece. Then she looks at Kyle, this man she married on the worst day of her life, this man who's somehow become her partner in chaos. We do it, she says. Tonight. Now. Before she has time to move the evidence. Alara, Kyle starts. She took my father. She's destroying his life's work. She's threatened everyone I care about. Alara's voice is steel. I'm done watching, done reacting. We end this tonight. Kyle studies her for a long moment. Then he nods. Daniel, get us building access. We leave in 10 minutes. Daniel moves to his phone, coordinating logistics. Kyle turns to Alara, his expression grim. You understand what you're agreeing to? If we get caught, we don't get caught. If we confront Sarah directly, then we confront her. She's dangerous, Alara, really dangerous. This isn't corporate espionage anymore. This is actual physical risk. I know. Do you? Alara moves closer to him, close enough to see the concern beneath his controlled expression. I know exactly what I'm risking, and I'm doing it anyway. So stop trying to protect me, and let's go get the evidence that saves my father. For the first time since she met him, Kyle smiles. Not calculation, not strategy, something real. All right then, he says. Let's go to war. The Monarch Tower rises 43 stories above the city, all glass and steel and arrogance. Alara stands on the street looking up at it, her breath forming clouds in the cold night air, and thinks about how many terrible decisions have led to this exact moment. She's wearing dark clothes that don't restrict movement. Cale beside her is dressed the same, the dragon tattoo hidden beneath his collar, his expression carved from stone. Daniel waits in a van 2 blocks away, monitoring security feeds ready to create the window they need. Last chance to change your mind, Cale says quietly. Stop asking me that. I need to know you're committed, Once we're inside, there's no backing out. Elara turns to face him. I watched my father get taken into federal custody for crimes he didn't commit. I watched his company get raided because I chose to help you. I'm committed. Now let's go. Cale nods once, pulls out his phone, texts Daniel. We're ready. The response comes immediately. Security disabled. You have 8 minutes. Moving now. They cross the street, moving with purpose but not urgency. Just 2 people entering a building where they belong. The lobby is elegant, expensive, mostly empty at this hour. A security guard sits behind a marble desk, but his eyes are on his phone, not on the entrance. Kael's keycard, acquired through methods Elara doesn't ask about, grants them elevator access. The doors close with a whisper. The elevator begins its ascent. 43rd floor, Kael says. Sarah's penthouse occupies the entire level. 2 entrances. Front door requires biometric scan. Service entrance uses a standard keycard. Daniel's access gets us through the service entrance. And if she's home, then we adapt. The word adapt doing a lot of heavy lifting there. The elevator climbs 20 floors, 30. Elara's pulse hammers in her ears, drowning out the soft music piped through hidden speakers. At 42, the elevator slows. Stops. The doors don't open. Cale's hand moves to his phone. Before he can check it, a voice fills the elevator through the speaker system. Sarah's voice. Did you really think I wouldn't know you were coming? Cale's expression doesn't change, but Elara sees his jaw tighten. Daniel's little security bypass was cute, Sarah continues, but I have redundant systems, backups for the backups. You're in my elevator, Cale, which means you're exactly where I want you. Then let us up, Cale says calmly. Let's finish this. Oh, we'll finish it, but on my terms. A pause. 43rd floor, come see me. Both of you. And Kael, leave the weapons in the elevator. I'll know if you don't. The speaker cuts off. The elevator resumes its climb. Kael looks at Elara. You still have time to stay here. Let me handle this alone. No. Elara. No. She meets his eyes. We started this together. We finish it together. The elevator reaches 43. The doors open onto a private foyer. Marble floors. Original artwork. A single door at the far end already standing open. Invitation or trap? Probably both. Kael steps out first. Elara follows, her legs steadier than she expected. They cross the foyer. Through the open door into the penthouse beyond. It's spectacular. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Minimalist furniture arranged with surgical precision. Everything white and chrome and absolutely controlled. Sarah stands at the windows, her back to them, silhouetted against the city lights. Close the door, she says without turning. Kyle does. The lock engages automatically with a soft click. I have to admit, Sarah says, still not turning. I'm impressed. You managed to turn Dorian faster than I anticipated. Got him to cooperate with federal investigators. Very efficient. He was always going to break, Kael says. You knew that. I knew he was weak. I didn't think you'd exploit it this quickly. Now she turns. She's wearing a white suit, her dark hair loose around her shoulders. She looks younger than her photos. More dangerous. But it doesn't matter. Dorian can tell them whatever he wants. By the time federal investigators sort through the evidence, I'll be in a country without extradition treaties. Running, Kael says. That's your endgame? Surviving. There's a difference. Sarah moves away from the windows, her heels clicking against marble. You, of all people, should understand that. You sacrificed my father to survive. Why shouldn't I sacrifice everything here for the same reason? Your father wasn't sacrificed. He made choices. He made choices you forced him into. Sarah's composure cracks, fury bleeding through. You positioned him to take the fall. You fed investigators evidence that pointed to him. You let him believe you were innocent while destroying any chance he had of proving otherwise. That's not what happened. Then what did happen, Kael? Explain it to me. Make me understand how my father ended up in prison while you walked free. Kael is silent for a long moment. Then he says quietly, Your father started the illegal operations. Not me. Not the unnamed partners you keep referencing. Him. James made a choice to move weapons through our shipping routes because legitimate cargo wasn't profitable enough for his taste. I found out months after it started. Confronted him. He denied it. Then the federal investigation opened, and I had a choice. Protect him or protect the company? You chose the company. I chose survival. James had already compromised everything we built. If I'd taken the fall for his crimes, we both would have lost everything. At least this way, one of us could salvage something from the wreckage. You let him die in prison. I didn't let him do anything. James had options. He could have served his sentence quietly. Instead, he decided to cut a deal with prosecutors. Decided to expose everyone involved, including people far more dangerous than me. Kael's eyes are ice. Those people didn't appreciate the threat. They eliminated it. I had nothing to do with his death. But you knew it was going to happen, Sarah says. Didn't you? Kael doesn't answer. His silence is confirmation enough. You knew, Sarah breathes. You knew they were going to kill him, and you didn't warn him, didn't protect him. Just let it happen because it was convenient. It was survival, Kael says again. In that world, you protect yourself or you die. There's no middle ground. And Alara? Sarah's eyes shift. Is she survival too? Or is she something else? She's none of your concern. She made herself my concern when she chose your side. Sarah approaches slowly, predatory. Tell me, Alara, do you know what you've aligned yourself with? What kind of man makes choices like the ones Kael just described? Alara's throat is dry, but her voice comes out steady. The kind who stays alive when everyone else doesn't. The kind who plays in a world where the rules are different. The kind I need if I'm going to save my father. Your father. Sarah laughs, sharp and bitter. Your father is in federal custody because of evidence I provided. Evidence that took me months to fabricate. Evidence that's convincing enough to keep him there for weeks while investigators unravel the truth. You framed him. I created leverage. Marcus Vance was never the target. He was just convenient, a way to hurt you, a way to force Kael into making mistakes. Sarah tilts her head. And it worked. Here you are, in my home, exactly where I wanted you. Kael's posture shifts slightly, preparing. What do you want, Sarah? I want you to understand what it feels like to lose everything. She pulls a phone from her pocket, displays the screen. Right now, there are people positioned at key locations. People who will, on my signal, release information that destroys every legitimate business you've built. Your shipping company will be revealed as a front for weapons trafficking. Your real estate holdings will be exposed as money laundering operations. Your investments will be linked to criminal enterprises across 3 continents. None of that's true. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to be convincing. Sarah's smile is cold. By morning, you'll be toxic, unhireable, untouchable. Every legitimate connection you've built will evaporate. You'll be exactly what you've always really been, a criminal with nowhere to hide. And if I refuse to engage with this, if I just walk out, then I send the signal anyway, and I add something extra. She swipes to another screen, shows them an image. Alara's breath stops. It's her father, in what looks like a federal interrogation room, but the photo has been doctored, manipulated, made to look like he's accepting money from known criminals, meeting with people who don't exist, committing crimes that never happened. Fabricated evidence is easy when you have resources, Sarah says. These photos will be leaked to media, sent to prosecutors, buried in the investigation against him. By the time anyone proves they're fake, the damage will be permanent. Alara's hands curl into fists. You're going to destroy an innocent man to hurt us? I'm going to destroy everyone Kael cares about the way he destroyed everyone I cared about. Fair is fair. Sarah pockets the phone. Unless what? Kael's voice is deadly quiet. Unless you give me what I want. Which is? Confession, public, recorded. You admitting that you conspired to frame my father, that you knowingly let him take the fall. That you were aware of the threat to his life and did nothing. Sarah's eyes burn. You make that confession, I release it to media, and I walk away. No more attacks. No fabricated evidence against Marcus Vance. No destruction of your businesses. Clean slate. Except I go to prison. Except you finally face consequences. Yes. The penthouse goes silent, except for the distant hum of the city below. Kael looks at Alara. Something passes between them without words. Then he turns back to Sarah. No. No? Sarah's composure cracks. You're choosing yourself over everyone else? Again? I'm choosing truth over your revenge. I won't confess to crimes I didn't commit just because you need someone to blame for your father's choices. My father's choices were forced on him by you. Your father's choices were his own. Kyle's voice rises for the first time. He decided to bring illegal operations into our company. He decided to lie to me about it. He decided to cut a deal with prosecutors. And you decided to have him killed before he could expose your network. Every terrible thing that happened to James Kwan was set in motion by people in his own family, not by me. Sarah's hand trembles as she pulls out the phone again. Then I send the signal, and I destroy all of you. Wait, Alara says. Both of them turn to look at her. You want a confession? Alara's pulse hammers, but her mind is clear. Fine. Record this. Alara, don't, Kyle starts. Record it, she repeats. Sarah's eyes narrow, but she activates her phone's recording function. Go ahead. Alara takes a breath. My name is Alara Vance. I'm the daughter of Marcus Vance, CEO of Vance Industries. And I'm here to confess that I broke into Sarah Kwan's penthouse tonight with the intention of stealing evidence related to her father's death. Sarah's expression shifts, confusion bleeding through her fury. I broke into your home, Alara continues, because I believed you were responsible for James Kwan's murder. Because I believed you framed my father. Because I believed you were destroying innocent people to satisfy your need for revenge against Kyle Ardent. What are you doing? Sarah asks. I'm giving you what you want. Confession. Evidence of criminal activity. Something you can use. Alara steps closer. But here's the problem with your leverage, Sarah. You're threatening to destroy people who have nothing to lose. My father's company is already being investigated. Kyle's reputation is already questionable. You think releasing more dirt changes anything? It changes everything. It changes nothing. You're acting like you have power here, but you don't. You have threats. And threats only work when the person you're threatening cares more about avoiding consequences than achieving their goal. Sarah's phone wavers slightly. Our goal, Alara says quietly, is stopping you from hurting more people. And we're willing to accept any consequence to make that happen, including criminal charges, including prison, including the complete destruction of everything we've built. Because unlike you, we're not running. We're finishing this. You're bluffing. Am I? Alara pulls out her own phone, the burner Kale gave her, displays a message thread. While you were monologuing about revenge, Daniel Song was coordinating with federal investigators. They're downstairs right now. They have warrants for your arrest related to James Kwan's murder, corporate espionage, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The only reason they haven't come up yet is because we asked them to wait. Sarah's face drains of color. You're lying. Call building security. Ask them who's in your lobby. For a long moment, Sarah doesn't move. Then she grabs her own phone, makes a call, listens. Her expression crumbles. How? She whispers. Because you made the same mistake you accused Kyle of making, Alara says. You assumed everyone around you was weak. You assumed Dorian would stay loyal. You assumed Daniel would stay silent. You assumed I would stay broken. You were wrong about all of it. Sarah's phone slips from her fingers, clatters to the marble floor. It's over, Kyle says quietly. You can walk out with us, cooperate with investigators, face trial with dignity, or you can run and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Your choice. Choice. Sarah's laugh is hollow. You took away my choices when you destroyed my father. Your father destroyed himself, and you destroyed what was left by killing him. Kale moves closer. But you still have a choice now. How this ends. Whether you face it or flee from it. Sarah looks between them. At Alara, standing firm despite everything. At Kyle, offering something that might be mercy or might be another trap. Then she looks at the windows. At the city 43 stories below. Don't, Alara says, reading her intention. Why not? Sarah's voice is empty. I've already lost everything. My father, my company, my future. What's left? Life, Alara says. The chance to rebuild. To be something other than revenge. You don't understand. I understand better than you think. Alara's throat tightens. I stood at an altar watching my entire future collapse. I thought that was the end, that I'd lost everything. But I was wrong. It wasn't an ending. It was a choice point, and I chose to become something different than what I was. You chose to become a criminal's wife. I chose to fight back, to stop being passive, to take control of my own story instead of letting other people write it for me. Alara extends her hand. You can make the same choice. Right now. Come with us. Face what you've done. And maybe, eventually, build something that isn't just destruction. Sarah stares at Alara's hand. The moment stretches. Then she moves, not toward Alara, but toward her desk. Her hand reaches for the drawer. Kale reacts instantly, crossing the space between them, grabbing her wrist before she can pull out whatever she's reaching for. Let go, Sarah hisses. Not until I know what you're going for. Let go! They struggle. Sarah's other hand claws at Kael's face, drawing blood from his cheek. He doesn't release her wrist. Alara rushes forward, opens the drawer herself. Inside, a handgun. She pulls it out, checks the safety, removes the magazine, makes it inert. It's over, she says again. Sarah stops fighting, collapses against the desk, her perfect composure completely shattered. I just wanted him to pay. For everything. For all of it. He is paying, Kael says quietly, releasing her wrist. He's been paying for 5 years, living with the knowledge that his choices destroyed his partner, that his survival came at someone else's expense. You think I don't carry that? You don't act like you carry it, because the alternative is drowning in guilt that changes nothing. Kael steps back. Your father's dead. James is dead. Nothing we do brings them back. The only choice left is whether we let their deaths define us or whether we build something that gives their loss meaning. Sarah laughs, bitter and broken. You sound like you're trying to convince yourself. Maybe I am. The admission hangs in the air, then footsteps in the hallway. The elevator opening. Federal agents flooding into the penthouse with weapons drawn and badges displayed. Sarah Kwan, one of them says, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, corporate espionage, and fraud. You have the right to remain silent. The Miranda rights continue, but Alara stops listening. She watches Sarah being handcuffed, led away, her white suit standing out against the agent's dark tactical gear. At the elevator, Sarah looks back, meets Alara's eyes. No words pass between them, just recognition. Two women who made different choices when their worlds collapsed. Two different outcomes. The elevator doors close. Kael touches Alara's shoulder. You okay? No. She turns to face him. But I will be. Another agent approaches. We'll need statements from both of you, and Mr. Song is waiting downstairs with additional evidence. Of course, Kael says. Whatever you need. The agent nods, moves away to coordinate with his team. Alara and Kael stand in Sarah's destroyed kingdom, surrounded by the aftermath of choices made and prices paid. Your father, Kael says quietly. With Dorian cooperating and Sarah in custody, the charges against him should be dropped within 24 hours. Should be. Will be. I'll make sure of it. How? I have lawyers, resources, connections. He meets her eyes, and a personal stake in making sure Marcus Vance knows his daughter saved him. Alara's throat tightens. What happens now? To us? That depends on what you want. What I want. She laughs, exhausted. I don't even know anymore. Then start with something simple. Do you want to stay married to me? The question is so blunt it startles her into honesty. I don't know. Maybe. If it means something real instead of just a transaction. What would real look like? Partnership. Actual partnership. Not you making decisions and me following. Not me being leverage or protection or any of the strategic things you married me for. She searches his face. Can you do that? Can you be in something where you're not controlling every variable? Kael is silent for a long moment. I don't know, he says finally. But I'm willing to try, if you are. It's not a declaration of love, not a promise of happily ever after. It's honest, real, flawed, just like everything else in this mess. Okay, Alara says, let's try. The federal agents finish processing the scene. Alara and Kael give their statements, providing evidence Daniel collected, corroborating Dorian's testimony. By the time they leave the Monarch Tower, dawn is breaking over the city. Pink and gold light painting the glass buildings, making everything look clean and new despite the chaos underneath. Daniel meets them on the street, looking exhausted but satisfied. The evidence went through. Sarah's being charged with first-degree murder. The case is solid. And my father? Alara asks. Released an hour ago. All charges dropped. He's at home. Probably asleep. Daniel manages a tired smile. You should go see him, soon, before the media circus starts. I will. She pauses. Thank you for everything, for risking your family to do the right thing. Wasn't much of a risk in the end. Sarah's leverage evaporated the moment she was in custody. He looks at Kael. We're square now. The debt's paid. Kael nods. It's paid. Daniel walks away, disappearing into the early morning foot traffic. Alara turns to Kael. Debt? Long story. I'll tell you later. He checks his phone. I need to deal with my businesses. Make sure Sarah's final attacks didn't do permanent damage. It'll take most of the day. And tonight? Tonight we figure out what comes next. He touches her face, gentle. Together. Actually together this time. She leans into his hand. Okay. He kisses her. Not claiming, not possessive, just connection. When he pulls back, his eyes are softer than she's ever seen them. Go see your father. Make sure he's okay. Then come home. Home. The penthouse, your apartment, wherever you want home to be. We'll figure it out. Alara nods. Watches him walk away, the dragon tattoo just visible above his collar, the morning light catching silver in his hair. Then she gets in her car and drives to her father's house. Marcus Vance answers the door looking hollowed out, exhausted, older than she's ever seen him. Alara. His voice breaks. I'm so sorry. For everything. For not believing you about Dorian. For being blind to what was happening. Stop. She pulls him into a hug. You were betrayed by someone you trusted. That's not your fault. I should have seen it. No one saw it. That's how betrayal works. She pulls back, meets his eyes. But it's over now. Dorian's cooperating. Sarah's in custody. Your company is safe. Because of you. Her father's eyes are red. Because you were brave enough to do what I couldn't. I had help. From Kael. Not a question. Yes. Her father is silent for a moment. Then, I was wrong about him, or at least I was incomplete in my understanding. He's not a good man, but he's not the villain I thought he was either. No, Alara agrees. He's something more complicated. We both are. Are you staying married to him? I think so. We're going to try to make it real. Actually real. Do you love him? Alara considers the question honestly. I don't know yet, but I respect him. I trust him. And I think maybe that's enough to build on. Her father nods slowly. Then you have my blessing. For whatever that's worth. It's worth everything. They talk for another hour. About the company, about rebuilding, about the future. Marcus reveals that with Dorian gone and the investigation cleared, he's ready to make changes. Bring in new leadership. Maybe even consider Kael's merger proposal if it's still on the table. It will be, Alara says. Kael doesn't give up on things he wants. And he wants legitimacy. He wants to build something that lasts, something that isn't just survival. She pauses. I think I want that too. When she finally leaves, the sun is fully up. The city is awake, alive, moving forward like it always does, regardless of individual catastrophes. Alara drives through morning traffic back to the penthouse. Margaret lets her in, expression unreadable as always. Mr. Ardent is in his office, she says. He asked not to be disturbed unless it was you. Thank you, Margaret. Mrs. Ardent? Alara pauses. I'm glad you stayed, Margaret says quietly. The house feels different when you're here. Better. It's the closest thing to emotion Margaret has ever shown. Thank you, Alara says again. Means it differently this time. She finds Kael in his office, surrounded by screens and documents, phone pressed to his ear, managing the chaos Sarah created. When he sees her, he ends the call mid-sentence. How's your father? Shaken. But okay. He wants to discuss your merger proposal. For real this time. Good. We'll set up a meeting. Do it right. He stands, moves around the desk. And you? How are you? Exhausted, overwhelmed, confused about what my life is now. She manages a smile. But alive. And that's more than I expected when I stood at that altar 4 days ago. 4 days. Cale shakes his head. Feels like longer. Feels like a lifetime. He pulls her close, his arms solid and real around her. She lets herself lean into him, lets herself feel the weight of everything that's happened. What happens now? She asks into his chest. Now we rebuild. Your father's company, my reputation, this marriage, all of it. He pulls back enough to meet her eyes. It won't be easy. There will be investigations, media attention, people questioning everything we do. I know. And I'm still not a good man. I've still done things you'll struggle with, made choices you might not be able to forgive. I know that too. Then why stay? Alara considers the question, thinks about Adrian and Lila and the life she thought she wanted, thinks about Sarah and her father and revenge that destroyed everything it touched. Thinks about standing in this office days ago, broken and humiliated, and the choice Kyle offered. Because I'm not looking for good anymore, she says finally. I'm looking for real. For partnership with someone who sees me as an equal, not a decoration or a victim. For a life where I'm active instead of passive, where I build instead of just accept. She touches his face. You offered me that, whether you meant to or not, and I'm choosing to take it. Cale's expression softens. Then we build it together, something neither of us could create alone, something that isn't perfect but is ours. Yes. He kisses her again, deeper this time, a promise carved into the space between them. When they finally break apart, the city stretches beyond the windows, alive, complicated, full of broken things being reassembled into new shapes, just like them. Weeks pass. The investigations conclude. Sarah is formally charged with first-degree murder and remains in custody without bail. Dorian testifies in exchange for a reduced sentence. Daniel Song fades back into whatever life he built after leaving Kyle's employment. Marcus Vance and Kyle Ardent negotiate a merger that saves Vance Industries while expanding Kyle's legitimate holdings. It's announced publicly, generates media coverage, raises eyebrows among people who remember the wedding disaster. Let them talk. Alara learns to navigate Kyle's world, not as his accessory, as his partner. She attends meetings, offers strategic input, learns the language of power and influence that operates beneath polite surfaces. She's good at it, better than she expected. Adrian and Lila fade into irrelevance. Occasionally she sees social media posts. Their relationship is already crumbling, surprise, surprise. But she doesn't care. They're artifacts of a life she's left behind. Some nights, she and Cale talk until dawn about everything and nothing. About his mother, who died when he was 19. About her dreams of graduate school, deferred but not abandoned. About the ways they're both learning to be less broken. Other nights, they barely talk at all. Just exist in the same space, reading or working or simply being together in comfortable silence. It's not perfect. There are arguments, disagreements about strategy, about boundaries, about how much of their lives they're willing to share versus protect. There are moments when Alara questions whether this is sustainable, whether building on a foundation of crisis and manipulation can ever become something stable. But then Kyle does something that surprises her, shows vulnerability, asks her opinion and actually listens, makes space for her choices instead of directing them. And she realizes they're both changing, both becoming something different than what they were. 6 months after the wedding that wasn't, Alara stands in the penthouse looking out at the city. Kyle approaches from behind, slides his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? He asks. The day we met. How certain I was that I'd made the worst mistake of my life. And now? Now I think maybe it was the best mistake I've ever made. She turns in his arms. Or maybe not a mistake at all. Maybe just the right thing happening in the worst possible way. That's overly poetic for you. I'm allowed to be poetic occasionally. Are you? I'm your wife. I'm allowed to be whatever I want. He laughs, genuine, unguarded. Yes, you are. They stand together watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. The city below them pulses with life, with possibility, with all the chaos and beauty that comes from millions of people making choices and living with consequences. Kyle, Alara says quietly. Yeah? I love you. The words surprise her as much as they surprise him, but saying them out loud, she realizes they're true. Not the fairy tale love she thought she had with Adrian, something rawer, more complicated, built on shared trauma and mutual respect and the decision to keep choosing each other despite everything. Kyle doesn't respond immediately, just holds her tighter. I love you too, he says finally. I don't know if I'm good at it, if I know how to do this right, but I love you. Good at it isn't the point. Trying is the point. Then I'll keep trying. So will I. They stand together as the sun disappears and the city lights begin to flicker on, one by one, like stars being born from concrete and glass and human ambition. And in the silence between them, there's no ending, just continuation, just the next chapter of something they're writing together, something built from broken pieces, something imperfect and real and entirely theirs. The dragon tattoo on Kale's neck catches the last rays of sunlight, its eyes seeming to glow for a moment before fading into shadow. Alara traces it with her finger, following the curve from his jaw to his collarbone. Do you regret it? She asks. Any of it? Marrying you? No, the circumstances, yes, but not the outcome. He turns to face her fully. You could have left. Multiple times. You chose to stay. That means something. It means I'm either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. It means you're a survivor, like me. He touches her face. We recognize each other. That's why this works. Maybe he's right. Maybe they're both survivors of different catastrophes, finding something solid in each other's wreckage. Maybe that's enough. The city spreads below them, indifferent to their small story. Tomorrow there will be meetings, negotiations, the ongoing work of building empires from salvaged pieces. There will be challenges, complications, moments of doubt. But tonight there's just this. Two people who found each other in chaos. Two people who chose to stay. Two people building something that doesn't have a name yet, but feels like home. And in the end, maybe that's all anyone can hope for. Not perfection, not fairy tales. Just the courage to stand in the ruins of what was and build something new. Just the strength to choose partnership over isolation. Just the faith that broken things can be reassembled into shapes that are stronger than the original. Alara Vance, now Alara Ardent, really and truly, stands in the penthouse she shares with her husband and thinks about the girl who stood at an altar waiting for a future that never came. That girl is gone. In her place is someone harder, sharper, more aware of the cost of everything, but also more alive than she's ever been. Come to bed, Kyle says, pulling her toward the bedroom. In a minute. Alara. 1 minute. I just want to remember this. Remember what? What it feels like to be exactly where I'm supposed to be, even if I never planned to be here. Kyle smiles, pulls her close. Then remember it, and then come to bed. She does. And somewhere in the city below, life continues. People make choices, face consequences, build futures from whatever pieces they're given, just like everyone always has, just like everyone always will. The story ends, but the life continues, and that's enough.